Everybody, welcome to this Board Game Life episode number 67 titled TBGL Con 2024. This is the show about board games, any kind of games, tabletop games, whatever else we want to talk about. I am one of your fine hosts for today. My name is Rob, and with me, as always, I got my good buddy Mark.
Hey Rob, how you doing this fine, beautiful day?
I'm doing fantastic. I wish I was gaming right now, but hey,
I know. Tell me
we have
about
to
it.
we have to take a break from gaming to do the show,
Yeah.
or a break from working and sleeping and everything else that we have to take care of in order to do our gaming.
And I
But
will say the one thing different about this show than any other that we've done,
yeah,
we got a lot of gaming in.
yes, it was. If I was to use one word, it would be glorious. It was glorious gaming. How's
It
that?
it was. I don't think I've ever
Excellent.
played so many Euros in my life.
Maybe that's a sign of things to come. Who knows?
Oh, I don't
Or
know.
not.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah. That's yeah. We should have called it Eurofest or something.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Euros. Although
Eurofest.
there were some
Oh,
Euros
there were
involved.
Euros. Oh yeah.
There was a Euro platter involved in the gaming. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of games and stuff that happened. So why don't you start us off with what you've been playing outside of this
Of the
board game
con.
Life Con?
So
Yes.
prior to the con, I did play Citadels with my game group. It was about 2 weeks ago tomorrow. So
Hmm.
that was the first time for me. It was an interesting game. Kind of dug it. Played some more Seven Wonders Architects. Did get some Quacks of Quedlinburg in with my group again. Taught some new people. Dungeon Saga Origins. That's a Kickstarter that I was able to get out to the group. I got some people that joined me to play that, and it was really fun. It's a nice little dungeon crawler. I played you. So when I bought this, I think I talked about this before. When I bought it, I thought it was like a Dungeons and Dragons game that didn't require a dungeon master. Well, there you can play it without a dungeon master, but I forgot what it's called. It's been 2 weeks and I've had so many games played over the weekend. I can't remember anything, but there's like a game master or something like that. And so it's kind of like a 1v4. And what we did was you know, there's a bunch of missions and you're going through a book and it shows me like a map. So kind of like it reminds me of like Gloomhaven meets Zombicide,
Okay.
where there's missions and you have maps. It tells you where to put the stuff. But I set all this stuff up, and then I kind of storyify it a little bit. There is a little story at the start, but then the rest of it's just like a board game. And I'm basically controlling all the monsters in the game, and the four adventurers are controlling them. They're taking their turns, doing their things, trying to, and I tell them what their goal is. Um, and I approached it like I just wanted to play it and have fun. I didn't approach it like me against them, because ultimately I want them to succeed. I want them to finish and be successful. I don't really want to like annihilate them. I think that kind of ruins it. I was more of like kind of excited to, without having to really do like the hardcore D&D and character sheets and rolling, doing dice checks for did you do this or that or meet this. It's a very simplified, some would say dumbed down. Yes, that's fits me perfect. Um Kind of a D&D game with boards, and I've got some like the box I ordered like the legendary version, so I've got this whole thing of like plastic scenery, all these like scenery tiles, or not tiles, but little scenery pieces, and it's a miniature game, and so you put a lot of stuff out too, and it was really fun. We had some really good battles. The first kind of run through the first mission was pretty easy. It was just to kind of get people into idea of how to do it. Um, and then we got on the second one, and we got into a really good battle where the team decided they were going to split up because they've been kind of walking together through the dungeons. And then the second one's kind of designed to kind of split up a little bit, not forced. I know there's one coming. It's going to force them to split up. But this one, at one point, they decided to like, okay, it's kind of been slow, and they split, and we're going to go down different paths to go try to get these things to these treasure chests to try to find these treasure chests. Well, they didn't get very far when a creature appeared, and man just started annihilating one group, and so the other two people had to come running back, and then they decided to, to stay together from that point. But it was a lot of fun. We're going to continue that group. We're going to get to continue again this weekend, and play a couple more missions from where we took off, where we left off. And one of the players was asking me, like, so what did you like? He's like, did you enjoy doing the kind of game master, or would you rather play? He's like, if you want, he's like, I won't mind, I'll swap out with you so you can play as well. And I said, no, I actually had a really good time. Um, even though I'm not in it to win, it's just kind of there are things I can do to, I was able to take some people out and stuff, but ultimately I'm not like just trying to make it impossible for them. I just, but I want to make it fun. And everyone had a good time, and like, yeah, we need to do this again. So that was really cool. So that was Dungeon Saga Origins. I'll probably talk more about it next week when we get another couple games under our belt here this weekend. Also, I played Res Arcana um, and Colorado again, which I really like, and got some more Gloomhaven in. We're back on a winning streak. We won like 12 straight, then lost like two straight. Now I think we've won two straight. We had basically one of our guys did retire. We got him retired, and that um, I think he likes his new character. He's like freaking cool looking. I can't remember what he is, but it looks like Walking Death, like this floating death character. It's really cool. But yeah, that's what I've been playing prior to the con. So back at you, Rob.
Yeah, that's a good amount of gaming for sure.
Yes, it's been a
And
lot.
and for Citadels, is that because there's a deluxe version, there's a regular. Do you know which one you were playing? Was it like in a
I
teeny tiny box
um
or like a
no,
bigger
it wasn't
box?
in a teeny tiny box. It was like it was
Like a
probably a medium sized box, I would say.
like a meat. Okay. Yeah, there's a couple releases. Yeah, that game is I think about 24 years old now. I think that's
Yeah,
almost older than I think
came
it's
out in
older.
2000.
Yeah, it's like older than anything we've played this weekend, I think. I don't think we had anything older.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Mhm. All right. So this
Oh, these
past
cards
weekend,
are different. I'm looking at the
yeah,
2000 edition, and that
yeah,
is not what the cards look like.
the
Maybe
old
he did
version.
have a maybe he did have the let me see the 2016 edition. Let me see what that is. Oh yeah, this looks correct. So he had the yeah, he's got the 2016 edition. That's the artwork. But I think the box was still like a regular sized, medium sized box.
Yeah, there's like three or four versions of this game.
So
Yeah, I was just looking now. Now Z-Man has it. It used to be Fantasy Flight. It's interesting how the games jump around from company to company.
yeah, that is kind of weird. So
But we did have like Asmodee buy half of the gaming world.
Yeah, it did have that, like, I'm looking at the inside of this box. It did have the nice little acrylic coins.
Mhm.
They're like little pebbles. They weren't really coins, but that's like, I guess, the money. It did have this big honking cat king pawn type of thing. Looks like a castle, big plastic thing that moved around to whoever was the king. So I don't know if that's a deluxeified version or if that's the normal one, but so
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, I'm curious now. Oh, 404 error. I guess we will never know. You had one job, Z-Man Webmaster.
yeah.
There it goes. Anyway. So yeah, this past weekend was this Board Game Life Con 2024. Um, this is the first one, hopefully of many. And yeah, Mark came out to visit me, and we hunkered down for a couple of days of gaming. So it was really awesome. And being that he came over to me, we used my game collection, and we played almost anything I wanted. How about that? But I did some. I think I did some good selections. It's stuff that we had kind of talked about, and I thought that would be interesting, and stuff that I really enjoyed that I could expose Mark to. So the first game that we started off with, actually, I think this was on the night that you got here, wasn't it? I mean,
It was the very night I got
yeah,
there, yeah.
yeah. So this was some late night gaming because we didn't get back to my house from the airport and stuff until probably like what 10 o'clock ish or maybe even later. But
Um I think it was later
yeah,
even.
maybe around 11.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first game that we played was Downfall of Pompeii. So this is a little bit of an older game that was released many moons ago, and I know I've talked about it in the past. And this is one of my favorite games. This game holds a special place in my heart for multiple reasons. Not because I stepped on the box like 6 months ago and I crushed the corner of it. I got to show Mark the damage that I did.
It
But
hurt, man.
yeah,
That sucks.
yeah. But no components were harmed in the crushing of the corner of the box with my big old heel. See, that's one thing. Like if you're walking and if you step on something with, let's say, like the front part of your foot, you can usually get by okay because you'll feel it and then you might not necessarily put all your weight on it. But if the heel's going on it, yeah, there's nothing that you can do. But the gist of this game is actually pretty cool. It's a game that's played in a couple of different phases. The first phase, you have this map of the city of Pompeii, and there's a volcano in the corner of a board, and it's got a plastic, like cone shaped volcano with an opening at the top. And you start off by placing your people in the, you have little like villagers, you place them into the city on in various buildings. There's a whole mechanic for placing them in special places, and you're also dealing with cards as well. The cards tell you where to place the people, and then after everybody places their people, um, the phasing changes, and now I think they call it "Run for Your Lives."
Yes,
Is
yeah.
the name of it, which is pretty right on. So Mount Vesuvius erupts, and now everybody's trying to get out of the city so that they don't become, you know, toast, literally. And there's this cool mechanic in there where I know I've talked about this before, where when um, you move this lava around and you can actually like um, kill people. I guess it's not the best sound, right? of what you do, but you can direct lava towards people and you can block them in the city, at which point they're removed from the game and you chuck them into the volcano. Very satisfying, very fun. Well, it's more fun when it's somebody else's pieces than your own, but still. And and then basically the person who gets the most people out is the winner. And yeah, I thought this is I love this game. It's quick, it's easy, and it's a lot of fun. Like, what did you think of it?
I really enjoyed this game. I remember when I've heard you talk about it before. I just like, yeah, here's another one of Rob Zero games, and even when you pulled it out and set it out, I'm just like, this looks like
Horrible.
it
The
just
artwork.
didn't. It wasn't pretty, you know.
No, yeah.
It's definitely an older game, but at first when you were explaining it, it's like, oh, you're gonna put your people in here and you're gonna put them based, all these different rules, and then it's like, then this is gonna happen, and then you're gonna take them all out, and I'm like, and I was just like, at first I was like, well, why are we putting them in there? Like, what's the point of putting them in there? But you know, eh, it's like, yeah, the more people you get in before the thing starts to erupt, then the more people you have to get out. And that's the goal. Get as many people you out as possible. So um it was really fun. I really did. And you've talked before about how satisfying it is to drop the other player's little meeple into the volcano. And it is. I remember looking at you the first time like, ha ha, when I got to do it to you
Plunk.
many times, I might add.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun to like. I think you made a comment while we were playing. It was like it's like multiple games in one,
Hmm.
because it's like at first you're placing them, trying to put them in certain places, and you're trying to kind of strategize like, well, I want to put them where I can get out, you knowing that they're going to have to leave. And so you're trying to, figure out kind of where do you want to put them, and doing your best options, and then using the abilities to like, oh, maybe I can place two this turn or three of, and so there was like that kind of strategy of trying to think ahead and plan your moves and put your people before all chaos breaks out. And then when chaos breaks out, and you're trying to go to an exit, and all of a sudden, boom, it's covered in lava, and you're like, now you're trying to reroute. And by the end of the game, I was like, I had, I think, three people left out, and you had cut off my exit, and I had one exit. I had to get these three people, and basically they had a path. They would have to go down this
They have to
corridor of
snake through
lava.
it. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, they're never gonna make it, and they didn't.
Yeah. That would have taken probably 7, 8 moves at least
Yeah.
to get them to hobble all the way there. And then I just closed off that whole section. That closed off what? Probably 1/3 of the map at least, if not
Oh
more.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the sweet taste of victory.
Yes, and
Yes.
Rob did win that game,
Yes. Yes, I did.
so
So
it was his first of many.
yes. And then so after that one, oh, and I wanted to mention that that game is by Klaus Jürgen Rede, which is the designer that also did Carcassonne. So it was Carcassonne he did in 2000, and then Downfall of Pompeii he did in 2004. So it came shortly after Carcassonne, and it's that makes it a 20-year-old game now. Wow. Anyway, so then the next game that we played was Deep Rock Galactic. You want to take that one?
Oh, so much fun.
Oh yeah,
This is I was so excited to play this.
me
And
too.
so this was the so we played just the one game that first night I got in, because like I said, we got in late, and we played the one. And it's like, okay, we're gonna hit the rack, and I traveled, and So it's like we'll get started early the next day. So the first thing, and Rob's got a stack of games on his table. Like he's just like, I got all these. He's like, they're just suggestions. Well, Deep Rock was sitting there like on the floor behind my chair, and I'm like, I picked it up and put it on the table and just grinned. And I'm like, because I'm like, I want to play this. I bought this for Rob. I told you you had to have it. You just had to have it.
Yep.
And so, because this is that video game that Rob turned me on to, and it's a we just both love this video game. I really like the board game. So I wanted to make sure to play some with Rob. So we sat down, and we went through the first two missions of the game, and to just kind of run him through and um, again, it's kind of like kind of like one of those like a zombicide where you are following a book. Like there's a book and it'll tell you how to set up the map, where to place the loot, where to place the monsters, where to place like the stalagmites. And then you basically have certain actions you're allowed to do on your turns, and you've got to go get all these certain materials. You got to go down into the cave, dig your way through into other caverns, find the required loot, and then get out. While monsters and creatures, the bugs as they're called, will continue to spawn in and try to keep you from getting back out alive. And so these are early missions, so they weren't really tough, but I had a blast playing this.
Yeah,
I
me
play this
too.
solo. It's set up on my table. I'm like halfway through the mission book, and I'll probably be working on it again this week. I want to finish it up so I can move on to another one. Um, but I I've talked about it before, so I want to know, Rob, what you thought of Deep Rock Galactic, the board game.
The one thing that I really have to say about this game that I'm pleasantly surprised, and I love that this is the case, is that it is 100% a board game adaptation of the game. It has every aspect of the game, I think, for the most part, and they pulled it off, and they pulled it off so well. I think you made that comment of, while we're playing, it's like you can almost hear that annoying guy from Mission Control, like, doing his little speech. But the game is so well done, including all of the pieces and adapting everything from, tunneling to, mining for, various minerals to fighting the bugs. Because that's one thing. It's like, how do you represent a swarm, right? In a board game adaptation, it's really easy to do in a video game. Where it's basically like a shooter, first person shooter. And how do you also do the capabilities of the dwarves? So if listeners are unfamiliar with the game, Deep Rock Galactic, the video game, there's four different dwarves that are mining the planet Hoxes. And there's a gunner, an engineer, a driller, and a scout. Every dwarf has a different capability. For example, the scout has like a what do they call it? A zip gun. So it's like a gun that shoots a
A
grappling hook, a grapple.
grapple hook.
Yeah. So he's got a grapple gun that shoots you know a grapple all the way across the room, and he like zips to that spot. The driller can drill through the stone or the walls, dirt, extremely quickly. The engineer can put down platforms in various places, and then there's the gunner, who's kind of like the big time weapon guy, right? He's got the most powerful weapons. And true to the video game, an engineer can throw platforms across like cavernous areas. The Which one was the one? Was it the gunner that does the zip lines?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so the gunner can do the zip lines. And so every character, every dwarf has the same abilities as the video game. And you have the same monsters that are in there, like these little spiders, these bigger dudes, and it's recreated so well. And when you're playing the board game, so in the video game, you have usually two things that you need to accomplish, like collect this kind of mineral, and then maybe I don't know, collect these apoca blooms, like these little flower things. So you need to accomplish those things, and each of the campaigns, each of the missions in the board game, they have a similar type of thing where there's certain things that you need to accomplish. So you get dropped in, you try to accomplish your mission, survive the threats that you get from all of the nasties in the area, accomplish everything, and then get out. That's how you complete the mission. So you get back to the drop pod. And so well done. So well done. I had a great time. And I was actually thinking about it today. I'm like, I wonder how Mark and I can continue. You know what? I think it's on Tabletop Simulator, so maybe we can continue
Oh,
prior
really?
to this board game life episode, or not episode, con number 2. That's going to be a little ways away. But yeah, I think we can continue together on Tabletop Simulator. 'Cause I've got it, so I just wonder if there's a cost to the to those files. But yeah, I had a great time. As much as I love playing the video game, I love the board game as well. I was actually wondering if we were going to do like maybe the third mission on Sunday, but we sort of ran short on time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We had so many things to play.
Hmm.
No.
Though the one thing that I would say though is I wish that box was maybe like half an inch bigger. it it seems like it's just a little bit shy of where it needs to be to get everything into to fit properly. But it's fine. It's okay.
Okay,
Anything to
give me.
add?
I need a minute. I gotta mute.
Okay, no worries. All right, I'll move on to the next game that we played. So the next game is Turn and Taxis. So this is an older game. It's been around forever, and it's about the exciting topic of the German postal system from like 150 years ago.
What's not to love?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, when you look at the board, it reminds me of those muted brown beige colors where like nothing really pops and everything kind of blends together. But I think the gameplay kind of makes up for it. It's a fun little game. The what this one is if you're unfamiliar, is that it's kind of like a variation of Ticket to Ride, sort of, where you have a bunch of cities strewn across the map, and there's roads in between the cities. Ticket to Ride, you're building like the tracks in between the cities. Here you're and connecting, to get your rewards at the end of the game, like if you could do the longest run or whatnot. So along the similar lines of, building paths, what you're doing is you're drawing cards and you're building a route in front of you by arranging the cards, which have city names on them. You're arranging them in a path, and it has to be a contiguous path. Each turn you can add to the end of it or to the front of it, but you have to add, to the front or the back. You can't add to the middle. And you're trying to make a longish route and then once you score it, you put your little houses in the cities. Now the map is divided up into regions, and there can be anywhere from one to, I don't know, maybe like 8 to 10 cities within each region. And when you close out your route to score it, you can either put your houses in all of the cities in your route within one region, or you can put in cities into, I'm sorry, you can put your houses into cities, like one per region. And in the end, you're trying to claim as many cities with your houses as you can, and then also trying to make the longest routes that you can. And um, I've had this game for many, many years. They've even got the expansion, and I want to say that the base game is so much fun. I don't know if I even need the expansion. I've only played it a couple of times and never gone back to it. But the game's just a lot of fun. It's you know it scratches that like route creation itch. You feel like you've accomplished something, pretty nice, and you're working well to discard your cards and to kind of like improve your odds of getting the right card. Oh, and I want to mention you do have an ability that you can use every turn. Like there's a draw deck or a draw market with 6 cards. You can, wipe all of those and refresh them. You can, play
Best
extra
power ever.
cards. Yeah, that was the thing that used like towards the end of the game. I think almost every single time.
I used it a lot in the game.
Yeah, but it didn't help you, or did it? I don't remember who won that one, but it was
That
probably
would be
me.
you.
Yeah, but yeah, Turn of Taxis is awesome. Any thoughts on that, or do you think it has some similarities to Ticket to Ride at all, or am I just kind of
I I remember
trying?
telling you that um I think we skipped a game. We did. I just realized I missed one on our list.
No worries.
Um
Add it in.
I'll add it in to
Yeah.
this one after this. But so I was checking. Yes, you did win. I when I pulled up the image tonight, I remember telling you it reminds me of a game, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And as soon as I pulled up an image tonight of the board, I was like, immediately had thought of Power Grid. So I
Okay.
think it's not that the game reminds me of Power Grid. I think it was the map there or the coloring. There's just something about it, and I was like, it does remind me of Ticket to Ride, but it was more of like something else. I think it was Power Grid. And I think because it's the little houses, you're putting your little houses in the towns, and it's kind of like Power Grid. You're doing the same thing once you're able to, and you're claiming routes. You're getting these routes of power. Um, and here you're doing like the mail routes or whatever. So you're putting your stuff in these towns. I mean, it works different. They're nowhere near close to the same, but that's kind of what it's like. Kind of that's what the game was that I couldn't think of the other day. That it there was just something about it reminds me of it. But I remember again pulling this one out, looking at the box, going, I can't even pronounce what is this Thurn. Turn and taxi. It's like
Thurn and
THURN, Thurn and
Taxis.
taxis.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is this? I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, another one of these Rob games. But
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, Downfall of Pompeii was good. I'll give him a shot at this. And I really thought I wasn't
Yes.
gonna like this, but I really did enjoy this game. It really what I liked that like you can pick the different people to use, like the postmaster or the whatever, you could I'm trying to remember exactly what they were. Like, again, there were so many things we played, but being able to wipe the cards or being able to like placing like multiple buildings or multiple houses in a region or in different regions to kind of get out and explore more, and then trying to get in all the regions to get the
Hmm.
bonus tile, and just those different types of options that were available to you just made the game a lot of fun. And even though I didn't win, I don't think I was that far off.
No, it was close.
I'll have to go. I can go in and see. It was 19 to 27, but I never felt like completely out of the game. So that was nice,
Mhm.
and it's fun. It really was not that hard to pick up. I feel like I caught on to it fairly quickly.
Yeah, though, one thing that is kind of tough with that game is there is a little bit of spatial visualization, kind of, because you're trying to lay out your route with cards in front of you and then translate it on the map, looking at the roads, right? You're going from Salzburg to Ulm to, you know, what, Simgarten, and
Yeah,
you're trying to look at your hand of cards that you have with cities and see, like, well, can I put one of these down? It's like, where's this card on the map? Is it
yeah,
connected to the front or the end? Which card do I need to draw from the market to like get me to that one? And it's just interesting. It's a very different game. And yeah, that one was released in 2006 by Andreas Seyfarth. Yeah, he made Puerto Rico. That was a very, very, very popular game. Yeah, Puerto Rico, San Juan was another super popular game. I was actually thinking about pulling out San Juan, but we didn't get there. Anyway, you want to cover the next one?
yeah. Because
We
you
can
might have to
alternate.
refresh. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so we actually did play two games the first night. Um,
Oh, was
you
it?
had
Okay.
Yeah, we did. We played Finca. Um, the That was the second game that we actually played. We played that after Downfall Pompeii,
Oh, yeah.
and I think maybe it was the first game in the morning. It doesn't matter, but it was the second game we played because I got it listed here. So we you brought up Finca again. I'm looking at the box like, what the heck is this? But I remembered you talking about this in a previous episode, and I remember seeing this big, huge windmill, and which I think is called a rondelle, I believe.
Yes.
And so I'm like, yeah, this looks cool. But then I was just like, when I remember when we started this, I was just like looking at this again, and I don't know why I like judge a book by its cover, right? They always tell you don't judge a book by a cover. Well, don't judge a board game by its cover or the description on the back of the box either.
Yeah.
um, but I was just like, oh, this looks just. I didn't think I was gonna like this, and when we started playing it and we started to get into it, it was a lot of fun. I really liked the way that, like, you had to decide, are you going to move around and collect your fruits on the rondelle, or are you going to um we were selling them, right? Or we were getting them, and then you could pick the pieces up in the markets or whatever, and grab the tile for the points and stuff. So you're trying to get all these different things to try to, I want that tile, I want that tile. They give me the most points, but then you're limited to how you're allowed to move on this rondelle in a very interesting way. And I was like, man, Rob keeps getting the donkey carts to be able to go to town and sell his goods. And I'm like, I can't seem to get these as quick as him. And it was just all about like where you're moving, and then how many people are on your spot allows you to move extra spaces. And it was just really cool mechanic of how you moved around the board. I really did like that, and overall the game is a lot of fun. I really did enjoy it
Yeah.
in the end.
And it's got this interesting mechanic where you have the rondel with the windmill blades, and then your workers are on the various blades of the windmill. So the windmill blades themselves are tiles that you randomly put down at the beginning of the game. So technically, every game randomizes that with a windmill, and each tile has a fruit on it. There's what, oranges, lemons, olives, almonds, figs, and grapes. I believe that's all of them.
Yeah, sounds
And
right.
yeah, so you have each windmill blade has a different fruit on it, and what you do is you move clockwise around the rondel using how many workers there are on your starting blade. So if there's three workers, you get to move three windmill blades um, around the windmill. And then on the blade that you land, once you're there, you count the amount of workers, and then that's how many of that fruit that you get. So if your piece is the only one there, you get, let's say, like one lemon. If there's two other ones when you land for three total, then you get three lemons. So that makes it interesting because not only are you trying to collect the different fruit, think of it kind of like like a pick up and deliver game, right? Where you pick up the various fruit and then you deliver them to the city. That's kind of like the gist of it, of the game. But you're also now, because of this mechanic on the rondel, you're thinking to yourself, well, I need lemons, but if I move this piece, I can get three oranges. Whereas if I go anywhere, I can only get one lemon. So it makes sense to get more of the fruit, which will hopefully help you later on in the game. And it's got something that definitely spices up the game a little bit. Although we did not trigger this at all in our game, probably because we played two player. And that's that the fruit in the game are finite. If it ever gets to be where one fruit is depleted, like all the way in the supply, then, for example, if all the oranges are gone, so Mark and I had all the oranges, if I go onto a spot and there aren't enough oranges in the supply, then we everybody in the game has to return all of their oranges to the supply so that I get my oranges. So that makes it kind of interesting
The heck with
where
that, buddy.
I know, right? Yeah,
Store is empty.
yeah, we got a couple of fruit away from triggering that, but we never. I mean, we were pretty good at just cashing out fairly quickly. But that's one way to get around people hoarding a particular fruit or resource, and that can definitely change the game. That can definitely like hose a lot of people, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're trying to get like six of a kind, for some of the big cards or something like that, and then all of a sudden, you had five lemons, and you're trying to get that last one, and then Mark, you know, takes everything, and now you have to give him back and start all over. It's a fun little that's a fun little rule. But yeah, it's a good old game. It got reprinted like 5 6 years ago, so there is a newer version. It's this one is Wolfgang Sentker and Ralph Zerlind, uh, back from 2009. Let's see, what else did he do? Wolfgang Sentker did Animals on Board. Yeah, that one came out like 5 6 years ago. Then Ralph Zerlind, he did one of my other favorite games, Pergamon. That was one of the ones that I almost pulled out as well. Really, really fun little game. But we good with that one?
Yep.
Okay, moving on. The next game that we played was Alhambra. So this is the original version of Alhambra, although we played the newly redesigned version. What do you call it? The revised edition
Revised.
that Queen came out with a little while ago. Um, I got it on Kickstarter. sometime I want to say late last year. And I was telling Mark there's a funny story about that Kickstarter where they came out with Alhambra the Red Palace, and that was the one that I was really interested in. And then I saw that there was a revised edition of the original, and I've got the big box edition of the original, which is a big box. It's a big pain in the butt box to store. That's what it is.
It's called Big Box for a reason.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, you could have walked home with that one. And I say walked home because it wouldn't fit in the suitcase. So you wouldn't have flown home with it. But yeah, so we broke out the revised edition. It was the first play on the revised edition. So we had the new Game Factory smell while we played that. Alhambra, classic game where you have four kinds of currency. So you have cards that you're drawing from a market, and they're in four different colors. So you use those to buy tiles that you're placing on your play area in front of you. So they're little Carcassonne shaped tiles, so little squares, and you're trying to build out your Alhambra from a central fountain. And you're trying to build it up, down, left, right, and at the same time, you have a wall on the various sides of your tiles, and you're also trying to make the longest outside wall. So if a wall goes inside, it doesn't count. And what I mean inside is like if the wall is not around the perimeter, if it goes inside at all, that doesn't score you anything. So think of placement sort of like Carcassonne, but it's actually a lot more challenging because that wall really makes it difficult to place tiles, and you can definitely kind of box yourself in so you can't put new tiles in. However, the game does get around that by allowing you to actually move your pieces around. So you get this like little resource board. I forgot exactly what it's called, but as part of your turn, you can take a building tile, like they have I don't know, a handful of different ones. There's like parks, and there's like an arcade, there's a tower. I believe there's like six different kinds. But you can take a building from your central play area, put it on your resource board, and then put it back on a subsequent turn. I think what was it? You can on your turn you can play from the resource board, pull from it, or swap. Wasn't that the the different actions that you could do? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. That was a lot of gaming. It was a lot of gaming. Some of the games started running
Yeah.
together a little bit, but uh, but it does let you rearrange your Alhambra to get better placement of the wall tiles in particular. But it comes at the expense of slowing you down because now your opponents can be, ahead of you. They can run away with the game. But it's a classic game, a lot of fun, and it's a game that I definitely enjoy now that I have three versions of it, and I'm glad we got to play it. Any thoughts
I
on
just
it?
don't like I just didn't like Dirk the Jerk.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. So when you play two player, there is a third player virtual player um, that draws tiles. It doesn't really participate in the game, but Dirk the Jerk, we called him the Jerk. Uh, he's just Dirk in the rules. Um, yeah, Dirk took six tiles, so he helped exhaust the tiles, and then also he was scored on the tiles as well. And what was
Yep.
funny was that um, Dirk kind of led in a couple of the buildings because you're trying to collect buildings that are the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was ahead of both of us for a little while. which I got a kick out of.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Alhambra, and that's the designer on it is Dirk Henn, so I think that's why they had Dirk in there as the virtual player.
And Mr. Hen, we're not calling you a jerk.
Yeah, exactly,
It's the virtual Dirk. Because he
exactly.
kept stealing all the good tiles.
Hmm. Oh yeah, and this is another
Yeah.
game that's fairly old. This one's 2003. It's also 21 years old.
Good game though. Good
Yeah,
enough that I'll put it this way. I when the game was over, I pulled my phone out and ordered a copy, and it was here before I got back home.
nice.
So, and it's I need to punch it to open the box, punch and prep because I'm taking it with me tomorrow night to game night.
Hmm. And just so you know, there is a Alhambra card game and roll and write. Actually, the roll and write was right behind you in the stacks on the floor, and I totally forgot about it. But there's another one that I was thinking. I'm like, hey, let's play this one fairly quick. The roll and write plays very quickly. Are you ordering it right now?
No.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm
All
not
right,
ordering it. I already did. No, I'm just kidding.
I believe it.
All right. So that takes us into the next game. Oh, by the way, I will say that Alhambra was the first game I won of the weekend. So,
Maybe that's why
and
you
that
bought it.
maybe that might have something to do with it, but probably not. But anyways, the next game was Roll Through the Ages, the Bronze Age. This is done by who the designer is Matt Leacock and published by Eagle Griffin Games, I think is the
Oh,
last
the
one.
the original one was Thomas Lehman.
The original designer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got it backwards. You're right. It is Matt Leacock for the first one. The
Oh,
second one had a different designer,
aha!
and that was
See,
Tom Lehman.
don't you go against BGG? I'll
Mm-mm.
report you. Um, Published by Eagle Griffin
So,
Game. Well, there's a bunch of people that published this game. I don't know which one you had, but
so I was going to say, you familiar with Matt Leacock? Do you know what else he made?
I'll know in just a moment. Pandemic,
And there's another one
40,
that
49 other games.
Forbidden
Um,
Island.
oh, really?
Yeah, he did that whole series like Forbidden Island, Sky, Jungle. Yeah,
Man, those are so hard too. I like Forbidden Sky. It's like the one that most people hate, but it's so freaking hard. So, but yeah, and of course his games are. I mean, Pandemic. Those are not meant to be easy games. So he likes to put the pain to us, doesn't he?
hmm
All right,
and he also did
Ticket
Ticket
to
to
Ride
Ride
Legacy.
Legacy. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, but yeah. So, anyways, this trying to remember this one again. There's so many. This was the one with the little hardwood. Yeah,
With the
yeah.
pegs. Yeah, the
Yeah,
first
this was
one.
really cool. The if I recall, I think I liked the first game better, I think. Um
I like it better as well.
the oh yeah, cuz we did yeah. So yeah, this was fun. At first I was like really kind of I think struggling with trying to figure out what we were supposed to do, but it's actually a really simple game. Like once you got it, it's like very simple to do.
It's a
But there's a
Yahtzee game basically.
yeah, and there's a lot of strategy, like how you're gonna use your dice. What oh, that's in a different language. What upgrades are you gonna do? Or I don't they didn't call them upgrades, but um
Oh, they
Ev-
so you had monuments and what were they called?
Developments.
Developments. Yes, thank you.
So yeah, so and those can give you bonuses on your rolls and stuff like that. And it was just a lot of fun. And then like you get that I thought was interesting, like the whole skull. Like if you roll a skull, that thing that comes out, you can't re-roll it, and now it's like was that a catastrophe?
Yeah, it like
Um,
locks your dice, and then it's like a disaster.
yeah,
Well,
and
not a
then
disaster. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
disaster. I think that's
disasters.
yeah.
So I remember like having two, and it's like I'm gonna take the hit, but if I can roll one more skull, then the disaster goes to the other player. And I'm like, heck yeah! And I was able to do that one time. And then like, yeah, which monuments are you going to send your people to work at? You know, you can get a point by going to the small one, or do you work on the medium one, or go after the large one and try to get that right away to max the points? And just it was just a really, I think, a fun game. It was fun. I think it went relatively quick.
and it's got
There's, you
and it's
know,
got that cool pegboard, which that's not
yeah,
something that you see in any game. It's a little
right.
maybe like what quarter-inch tall block of wood with some holes drilled into it, and then you move these little pegs to keep track of your resources.
Yeah, I really liked that. It was I was surprised. I was like, man, you don't see these things. You know, that's it's wood, and then the dice were wooden, and the dice were chonky too, man. They were big. Um, but yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it. Definitely like this one as opposed to I think the sequel. Um, I did like the Bronze Age a lot.
And I want to say this is like one of the first roll and writes, really. Although it's not really roll and write, it's more like roll and circle or roll and fill in the checkbox.
Okay.
Yeah, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And after the Bronze Age, we played the Iron Age, which is kind of like the sequel to it, where it continues kind of like where the Bronze Age left off. It still has the wooden dice. It has the pegboards. It actually comes with a third or a different kind of pegboard. There's like an expansion that's built into it, the Mediterranean. We played the base game, and it takes the mechanics of the Bronze Age, where you're rolling the dice Yahtzee style, and you have goods and skulls, and it adds combat and ships and like ship trade as well with ports and what was the other one? Provinces? What were the two things that we built? I'm having a
Well,
hard
with the
time remembering it.
yeah, ports and provinces,
Ports and
correct.
provinces, yeah. So it works similar to the original, but it's definitely a little more gamery and a little more complicated than the Bronze Age. And I was thinking, because I've played both, and it's been some time since I played Iron Age, and I just remember thinking that, yeah, between the two, I really like the Bronze Age. And I was kind of wondering about the Iron Age. Like, it's also a fine game. It continues where the Bronze Age left off, but I almost when I play it, the thing that I'm thinking is like, oh, it's not the Bronze Age. I just really like that one. and
Yeah.
no knocks on Iron Age. It's a fine game. It's definitely a little more complex, but the Bronze Age, definitely is like really smooth to play and fun.
Well, now that I look back on this, I
Yeah,
got to say the Iron Age is better because
was
that's the one that I won.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I won that game.
hmm Duh. I mean, I should have known better.
No, I'm with you. I did. I, I do like the bronze. I preferred that, but I think maybe it's one of those. It's like if you play it enough times, maybe you might prefer the Iron Age or something because it
hmm
does add more to the game. But again, it almost feels like one of those expansions that you don't really need because the first one was so good as it was. Um,
Yeah.
I think I liked the ability in the bronze one to with the different types of goods. Where this one is just like you're getting goods. Period.
Mhm.
Everything's like lumped in. You're not separating your wheat and your stone and your stuff like in the original game. So they kind of took that away to add in the combat and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it's like
which
battling and conquests and
then you get tributes.
tributes. Yes.
So
So yeah, so that was Roll Through the Ages, Bronze Age and Iron Age, done by two different designers, nonetheless, Tom Lehman and Matt Leacock. So then the next thing, I think we went on to the next day now. So I think
yes.
this
So
is
this
now
that
like full day number two.
so this is now moving into Saturday morning. And we started off.
Yeah,
This was my first disappointment of the of the event.
yeah, for multiple reasons, I think really. We played it wrong for a good chunk of it. Here, why don't you go ahead?
All right.
Yeah,
So the game we're talking about is Uchronia. Um, excuse me, which is by Carl Chuddik and published by. I think you call. I think you say yellow. I would say
yellow,
ILO.
yellow. Yeah.
Yellow. Okay. So it's published by Yellow, and again, Carl Chuddik is a designer. Um, it's when we first started, I was like, oh, okay, this looks like
Or
it's.
or let me before you continue, let me just say like the background of it real quick. So Uchronia is a redo of Glory to Rome, which is a classic Carl Chuddik design. And, lots of stuff happens to Glory to Rome. It's been out of print forever for some reason. It had some fumbled reprints or a reprint, the black edition, that didn't go so well. And, one of the things against Glory to Rome that a lot of people complain about, including myself, is the artwork. It's just brutal. It's not the best. And Uchronia took Glory to Rome and reskinned it in like this fantasy city called Uchronia, where there's like what people and dinosaurs. Like I guess you have like talking dinosaurs, maybe, I don't know. But it it's thematically, I think, a little more interesting than Glory to Rome, but it's definitely not as highly ranked because there are some differences with the game. It is not the same game with a new skin. But yeah, that's the background on it. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
That's okay. It's just allowing me to eat my dinner.
Okay. Oh, you got your dinner.
Yeah.
Where's mine? I don't remember you ordering for
It's
me.
there. He's heading your way.
Oh, okay, so I'll be here
We were
tomorrow.
just closer, so he stopped there here first.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
um, the game. It's. I like. I don't know how to. It's like. I didn't hate the game. I liked it. In fact, I remember we played it, and then I believe this is when we left. Yeah. So we
Then we
played
went
the
to
game
lunch.
because we
Yeah.
got up. We actually got up late that this morning. Um, I was tired. So I should say I got up late. I think you were up early waiting on me. But so we played one. It took us a while to get through it because I was like not comprehending the rules. And so by the time we got done, we decided we were gonna go downtown Chicago, go to this place that we love to eat and have lunch. And then we got stuck in traffic. Imagine that. But basically, we were gone so long that because then you wanted to take me to your two favorite game stores, which was awesome. So we kind of just did some shopping and eating and stuff. Um, but it was one of those when we finished the game, you asked me, "Did you want to play it again?" And I was like, "Yes," because I didn't want to make a judgment off one play because I
Mhm.
wasn't like feeling it. but it was like I felt like there was something there that I might be able to get on board
Salvage.
with.
Yeah.
And so we came back, and so we didn't immediately jump into it. We're talking, what was it, like 6, 8 hours later before we got back to the house. um, and we went right back in and played it again. And we had realized what we were doing wrong the first time. So, which was an improvement, but by the end of it, I still felt like I think my frustrations were just like you to get an activity up, you have to get it into your stock. So you have to have like it has to be either in your hand or in the forum in the market. And then you have to have the right card to pull the right card that you want, but then you got to put it no matter if it's in your hand or in the forum, it has to go into your stock. Then you got to get another card that allows you to take it from there to put it up into the activities. So it's like everything felt like you had to do 3 steps to make one turn. And
And that's by
I
design.
I understand that. And I get that. It just for me it was kind of frustrating that it just seemed like I couldn't like get things going when I needed either time we played through it. So it's one of those it's like I didn't hate it. It was like I wanted to like it because I thought it was like I did enjoy like looking at the buildings, grabbing a building, and then working to construct that building. And then once you've constructed it, then you gain the benefits of that building. Um, I really enjoyed that part. Like that was really cool. The thing I really struggled with was getting activities up. And that just kind of and I could not seem to get the freaking trade cards out. Or if I did, they'd always come up when I had nothing in my stock. Um, and then you're trying to weigh it like, well, do I want to use the trade? You're trying to, do I want to keep this blue trade card to put on the stupid blue building I bought because now I got to put it over there. So if I'm constructing blue buildings, then I can't use the blue cards to put things up in activities. Otherwise, it slows down my construction. So I get it's all by design. And it's just, this was a thing with me that I just at the end of the second game, I'm like, it's okay. I didn't hate it, but I wouldn't buy it. It does not need to be in my collection.
Right.
That and it was just kind of like, walk away like, okay, well, at least I tried it. So would I play it again? If you wanted to play it or someone in my group would play it, I'd be like, yeah, I know how to play. But would I enjoy it? I don't know. I think I'd be more indifferent over it, but so
Yeah, I was just looking up at the versions where Uchronia's BGG rank is 3639 and Glory to Rome is 261. So there's a huge difference in the ranks of how it was rated by people. But yeah, one of the more challenging things as well with Uchronia is just that the cards are multiple use. And this is something that Carl Chudik loves to do, whether it's in like Innovation or Glory to Rome or Uchronia, where you have a card and then you have a like a play mat, and you tuck the card in either on the top or the bottom as an example, and then that card is one thing at the top and it's a different thing at the bottom. So that's the mechanic that you really don't see very many places. And I'd say Space Base sort of did that, kind of, but not to the same extent.
yeah, I
So
wouldn't because Space Base was you had one function until you replaced the card. Then it served a second function. Where like this one was either or on your play.
yes.
Which way are you going to use this?
Hmm.
So
Okay. All right.
which
So
is not bad. Like I said, it's not bad. It's just I just couldn't get excited about this one. I
no, I
just
get
this
it.
is the one I think I struggled with the most. But again, everything we played, this was probably the one that I least liked, and I'm still kind of like I would say I'm mediocre over it.
Got it. No, I get
Yeah.
it.
So it's not bad. I
No.
mean,
Yeah, I really wonder, and that's why I brought it out later. I'm like, I really wonder if you played Glory to Rome, would you think differently and say, like, of that game style, like, would you like Glory to Rome? Because that one seems to be like loved by everybody except the art. I keep going back to the art. So anyway,
I
so
yeah, and when you put it on the table, I looked at it
like
and
hell no.
I went over and put it back on the floor stack. I
Yeah,
was like,
yep,
no.
yes, you're tapping out.
Yep.
So anyway, next game is Roll to the Top Journeys. So we'll talk about that one later after the con discussion. We'll go into in depth on that one. And then the next game that we played was Finito. So this is a game that I've had for quite some time. It's part of Schmidt Spiel's Easy Play series, which it never got a formal release in the United States, I don't believe. This is one that I got from uh, Fun Again Games years ago when, at least I think it was Fun Again Games, or maybe it was Amazon.de. I'm not sure now, but I remember getting it from a place that sold import games or games not made for the U.S. market. And this was a game that I also used to play with my son when he was little. So I figured if a 5-year-old child can figure out a game, then Mark can definitely figure out this game. How do you like that one?
I struggled with this to be honest.
I knew it. I knew it. But yeah, I really enjoy the Easy Play series. It's just a bunch of like really simple games, simple mechanics. They can get a little thinky sometimes, so they're not quite super basic, but they're fun. So Finito, what it is it's a grid of so you have this little board with circles on it numbered from 1 to 20, and there's multiples of some of the numbers, so it's one, I think it's a 6 by 6 grid
Yep.
of numbers, so that's 36 total spaces, and the numbers go from 1 to 20. You have a 20-sided die, and then you have game pieces that, wait, how high did they go? They go to like the
1 to 12.
12. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 1 to 12.
Yeah, I think you're right. And basically, the game, the gist of the game is that somebody rolls the die, and then it shows a number, let's say like 10. Then you have to take of your one of three of your little pieces that are flipped. Three are flipped up, the rest are face down, and these pieces have numbers on it. So you have to place one of your three face up pieces on the board. So, for example, if you roll the 10, you might place, I don't know, the 6 on that spot if it's turned up. And as you're rolling, you're placing your pieces on the board, all the while trying to get all your pieces oriented in such a way where you can make them top down, left to right, top down in numeric order. So it's fairly straightforward. While you're playing the game, you can get probably 80% of the way there. And then once all 12 pieces are out on the board, that's when you keep rolling, but now you can move a piece. And that's how you start moving stuff around at the end of the game to get your numerical sequence up. But it's a fun little game. You know, kind of reminds me of Bingo. That's what it looks like. Uh, and you're just placing these colorful little tiles. They have a nice feel to them. The game's fairly nice quality, very simple, very basic. How long do you think it took to play? Like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes,
Um,
if that.
yeah,
It's really
it's a
quick.
10 to 15 minute game.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, 12 minutes for our first game. Oh yeah, our second game was 5 minutes long.
oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I remember that because I remember telling you that it took you 12 minutes to beat me, and I beat you in only 5 minutes. So,
Yeah, I remember that.
so
Nice.
gotta love
Well,
having the stats to go back and look at.
well played. And I do want to mention that this game actually is online on the Happy Meeple site. So it can be played. Actually, I haven't been there in a long time. I wonder what they have.
I will.
Oh,
I
they
will say
got.
this: we're gonna talk about several other games that we played in this.
Mhm.
Was it easy play line?
Oh yeah, we played 3 of them.
I'm really wish these were available to purchase. You know, I know a couple have like been rebranded, but the ones that you have, I thought were perfect. It's like I really want these. It's like I'm gonna have to do some searching and see if there's any way to find these. So
Yeah,
I
that's
like them. I think they're really good, and these would be great to have for when I go on game nights. I always take one or two games that are kind of warm up games that as people are arriving, not everyone's there on time. People are at traffic and dealing with things. So, as people start to flow in, it's like we can start playing something smaller, simple that is quick. 5 and 10 minute games are great. And then everyone can just kind of sit down. It's a nice icebreaker. And then even like I often talk about playing games with my mother. These are games that very easy. She would enjoy these, so it's great for of all ages. Like you said, your 5-year-old son was learning. So if you've got young kids and you want to get them into gaming, these are great games too. It's like these are and you are having to think. It's starting to teach like even young kids, teaching them math in the order of very simple, very basic, but it's starting to learn those concepts of how numbers go and things like that. And then it's just not complicated for the elderly, and even people that are like really into the hobby. It's a great little warm up before you jump into your you know three
yeah.
hour terraforming Mars game.
Hmm.
So great stuff.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I think you kind of covered it where it's a really basic game, but at the same time, we as gamers, it's there's enough there. Like one of the ones we're going to talk about in a second, it's a roll and move game basically, but they tweak it just enough to like make it interesting, so it's not just like so you're not bored, like totally bored while you're rolling and moving. Anyway, so yeah, that was Finito. A great, fun little game.
All right. Which I did finish winning. So I'm going to state this from this point on, as this was late Saturday night, the second game of Finito, I won. I didn't lose again until the last game we played on Sunday night. Sunday was my day, and I dominated Rob. But I didn't even know it until now that it actually started Saturday night.
Oh, how about that?
So the next game we played, and the last game we played Saturday night, was, as Rob likes to call, Ganshan Clever, or That's Pretty Clever. And this is a game that I have and I've had for a long time. I'd swear I've played this somewhere else. And I thought Rob had taught it to me once before, but he didn't
I
remember.
I
He didn't
did
think it
bring it.
was me.
I did bring it to your house, and I played it with. We played it after the boating.
Yeah, and then I was not there. So,
Yeah.
but maybe it
Or
was just
you
one
know
of
what?
those. I think you told
I
me about it.
I think you were there, and then you're like, I can't play because we played this game and we played
Welcome to your neighborhood.
welcome. Yeah, welcome to the jungle. Yeah, welcome to dot dot dot.
Your perfect
Yeah.
neighborhood or something. Yeah, welcome to. But yeah. So, and I got that one, but I know because my kids were like, "This game's so great," but so that's pretty clever. It's one of those that tried reading the rules. I've tried watching like how you play, and for some reason, the the way like I get how you did the scoring on the gamepad, like selecting something, like you roll your dice, you use the dice, you select it, how you're going to use it on the gamepad or on your score pad, like all that made sense. It was this whole idea of like how to use the dice, because then when you roll, whatever you take, whatever you use, then you've got to remove like anything below that. Any other dice, they go into that silver tray. And it was like, I just like, for some reason, I couldn't figure that concept out. Like, and it was just like, so I told Rob, I'm like, you've got to teach me this game because I think this is one I'll absolutely love. It's fits in my wheelhouse of, dice and I like rolling rights. I like rolling dice. I've got other games where it's like you kind of do this like super mega lucky boxes. You're instead there you're flipping a card and you're using the number to mark things off like on a bingo squares, and then when you complete a row or you complete a column, it's like you get bonuses. And same with this game. And it's like, and I love how it's like when you get something and then like, ooh, I get that lets me put a number over here. Ooh, that gave me another one, and it just kind of keeps rolling, and it's like this is so much fun. So thankfully, Rob taught this to me, and I kicked his butt. It was pretty sad. I destroyed him, 192 to 264. Just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, okay, now I got it. Now I can play this and actually get my game to the table. So I'm really excited. I'll probably take this with me tomorrow too. Just as maybe if it's at the end of the night and you've only got an hour left, it's like, or 40 minutes, something like that. This is like about a 30-minute game. Boom, pull it out. Um, so awesome. Really enjoy this game. And big thanks to Rob for teaching it to me.
Awesome. And next up is Sagani. This is a game that Mark's been talking about and playing quite a bit lately. And it's a game that I got with a Kickstarter. I don't remember which one. I might look it up here. Um, so I got this one about 2-3 years ago. As I remember, man, I want to say Eagle Griffin had it like in a 3-pack. Yeah, so it was a Kickstarter for Pergamon that I mentioned a little bit ago, where they came out with a second edition, and then they included Sagani and Harmonia as you can get all three games as part of a pledge. So instead of just getting Pergamon, I got all three because it seemed reasonable-ish, or I don't know, or I'm weak, one of the two. But I've had it for some time now because I actually got it in, when did this ship? It shipped in September of 2022. So I've had it over a year and I've never played it. And I know Mark was really fond of it, so I brought it in my stack of games to propose to play. So this is a game from 2020, is when it was officially listed as being released, even though I got it 2 years later. Thank you, Kickstarter. But the designer is Uwe Rosenberg, of all people. So, he does have some games that aren't like the huge, um, you know, massive Euro game. And it's more along the lines of like Patchwork than it is one of his, big Euro games like Haller Tower or Reykholt or Caverna and such. So, uh, how this game runs is that it's, what was it about, like musical notes, kind of? No, not musical notes. About harmony
Spirits.
of nature.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
spirits.
Yeah, so there's spirits. As I was thinking harmony, like of music, but no, harmony of peacefulness. And so there's spirits of different colors with these tiles. Each tile has a different color spirit on it. And then there's these little, um, what do they call it? Like elements, like what there's fire and water and wind.
Earth, water, air, and fire.
Okay,
Those are
yeah,
the yeah. You're trying to achieve harmony between the natural elements of earth, water, air, and fire.
okay. And what's interesting about this game is like each tile has a certain color on it. Like for example, some are red, some are white, some are like yellow, blue, and these elements are on the various sides, right? They're either on the diagonals or they're on the sides of the tile, and they're pointing in different directions. So there can be anywhere from one to what, four, I think, elements on these tiles. And what you're looking to do is you're looking to build out the tiles in front of you in your play area. And as you place a tile, you're placing these little discs on the center of the tile. Let's say if straight north, so up, there's a little water symbol insignia straight up in the middle. If you place a a water tile just anywhere north of of that tile that you placed, then that element requirement is met, meaning that there's that element in that direction. And then once you cover all of the elements on the tile, all four up to four of them, then you take that tile, flip it over, and score it, and then use your discs in another area. And if you run out of discs, there is a little bit of a punishment. You lose 2 points to get additional discs. I think I got like all of the discs in the game.
Wasn't that bad?
It sure felt like it. I'm like, gimme, gimme, gimme. But you do sacrifice 2 points, but you get to use that additional tile or additional disc for the rest of the game, which is really nice because now you have a little bit of an advantage. And I found that, playing for the first time, I didn't really know like, what the strategy was or what it, what a good alignment was. And I found that once I kind of like had everything, I won't say figured out, but I was familiar with what I needed to do. Like half the game had gone by, and I did some pretty awful placement initially, and I really couldn't recover from it. So I'm pretty sure I lost. Yeah, I did lose this one because you said I lost everything. I lost every game on that day, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I'll blame it for the first half of this game, and I could not redeem myself. But I really enjoyed this game. It's fun. I would definitely play it again and definitely recommend it to people. It's awesome.
Cool. Glad you like it. The next one that we got to the table was again one I got to teach you, which was nice. I really enjoyed the fact that we were both teaching each other
Yeah.
games.
Mhm.
Because I guess I in my mind I figured I'm going to go there and Rob's going to show me how to play all these games, and it really turned out to be like we were both sharing with each other and teaching each other,
Yeah.
and that was really cool. I enjoyed that. So one of my all-time favorites of recent, The Quacks of Quedlinburg by Wolfgang Warsch, from Schmidtspiel.
Yep. They're the ones that make
And
the easy play games.
oh yeah, good people, good people. Um, there's a ton of publishers on this game. I'll just say that. Um, but this game is you guys have heard me about it. I'm not necessarily going to go into it because we've talked about it on the previous shows of how to play this game. But um, this is one, Rob, that I've like deluxeified all my
Oh
components,
yeah. Mhm.
and I was talking about kind of some of the differences and when I was teaching you the game, but I'm more curious to hear your thoughts on this. What you thought of the game?
Absolutely. So this is a game that I got, I want to say probably shortly after it came out, where I heard a lot of great buzz about it. I mean, this game's super popular. I'm looking at it right now on BGG. Its ranking is 62. So it
Yeah.
is one of the fabled 100, top 100 games out of all time. And I want to say this is one of Wolfgang Warsch's first games that he came out. And it was like that made him pretty popular, like immediately. And he also did That's Pretty Clever too, and
Yeah,
Twice as
this is
Clever, and a whole bunch of those
in
little
in
roll and
the
write games.
in the family game rankings, it's 7.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's yeah, he I want to say that this I want to say this was up for the Spiel, and he had a I could be wrong with this, but I want to say that he actually had two games that were nominated that year. So he had Ganz schön clever and I think this one at the same time. It's like, how often does that happen?
probably not too often.
Yeah, actually, let me see. Was it a winner? I don't remember. I mean, it won a ton of awards. It won Golden Geeks. Yeah, so yeah, it's the Kennerspiel for 2018.
Nice.
I wonder what else
Back
was.
back when the Kennerspiel could pick a good game.
Yeah,
Unlike last year.
yeah, it won. Azul was the main winner that year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Azul was the main winner, and then this one, the Kennerspiel, which is kind of like the hobbyist gamers game
Yeah.
versus the family game. But anyway, so I got it way back when, and I punched it out, and then I was going to play a game, and then I just remember like struggling with the colors on there. And I know they have little symbols, but like sometimes it's like really frustrating. And I don't know, maybe I was tired or circumstances, and the lighting in the room definitely affects things. Like if you have a yellowish bulb, good luck. Like like the old school
Yeah.
incandescent
Yep.
style, yeah, it makes it really difficult to see some of the colors. Color blindness is a pain, especially in gaming sometimes. But uh, I I took the game and I said, this is going to be for another day. It's like I just can't deal with this right now. And yeah, I never touched it after that. I never got back to it, and I'm so glad that we played it. And I was really looking forward to trying it with you because I know you could teach it to me, and I would be in good hands as well. And I really enjoyed it. The game was a lot of fun. Um, I did not struggle with it at all. Color wise, everything was fine. I don't think I even asked you at any point what was what. I had I think we played it during the day, so maybe it's because we had a
Yeah.
lot of natural light coming in that it wasn't an issue. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, you know, digging around in my bag trying to pick pieces, and it's definitely a press your luck game, and I do enjoy those games. And it was funny, like the first full half of the game, I busted like every single time,
Yeah.
and I was pressing my luck, and I had so as you advance, so there's like a spiral in your cauldron or whatever it is that you're cooking up your what potions or whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's this little water droplet that you start advancing, which is like your starting point because you start from your water droplet moving forward. And there's this little rat piece that if you're behind in the scoring, you get this rat piece to move you forward a certain amount of spaces. So it's kind of almost like a catch up mechanic. And man, did that rat go far.
Yeah. Yeah, you had him. I think you had him in your pot the entire game.
Pretty much. Pretty
Yep.
much. I think like round one was the only one that he wasn't out.
Yep.
But yeah, it started early, and then I think there were some of the levels, or not some of the levels, some of the rounds. I was easily like probably like 7, 8 spaces ahead of you
Yep.
to start. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, unfortunately, my first playthrough I did not win. But
But
I
it
had
was close.
yeah.
I only beat you by 3 points.
Oh
And
yeah, that's right.
yeah, it was so again, the rat tails, it makes a huge difference. It really I kind of like the fact that it does keep everyone in the game. It's a way of really equalizing that game out so that no matter what, everyone's always in.
Right.
Um, but then again, it's kind of frustrating when it's like you're kicking someone's rear, and then when you're getting up into levels 7, 8, and 9, or those last couple rounds, that they've got so many rat tails that it boosts them up so quick on the score track, you know, so they can
Hmm.
be like, "Arr."
Yeah.
And it puts you the lead at a disadvantage. But
Oh yeah.
it's good. It's not a game that I it keeps that game interesting, and it's one of those that there is no real um it ain't over till the fat lady sings, right? It ain't over till the game's over, because it usually comes down like every time I've played this, everyone's within reach in that last round. And that's why the game mechanic, and I was explaining to you, we didn't play the last round the way the rules do explain it, because I always play just a friendly game. But you're supposed to, on the last round, everyone's supposed to reach in their bag, pull out a piece at the same time, and hold it in their fist. And then once everyone is ready, you flip your hand over and open your hand to see if there's a chip in there. So everyone's placing one chip at a time. And then, and it's meant to that because some people will go faster than others. I'm kind of that way. I'm just like, boom, boom. I'm just placing my pieces.
Yeah.
Others I'll play with are like really taking their time. And the thing is for someone who's quick like me, I'll be like, oh, I'm done. And someone else that is close to catching up, they can go, okay, he's done. They can look at my pot, see how many points I'm going to score, look at the scoreboard, and do the math in their head. And it lets them know, okay, they need to get to a certain part, to a certain point, and then they can quit because they'll know that they've already passed me. So they have you do this kind of one at a time. Everybody does it at the same time, one move at a time. And then if you're done, then when you'd open your hand, you wouldn't have a chip. And then everyone else is placing. Now it doesn't negate them from looking at that point, but they didn't have a bunch of rounds in front of you. You've all had the same amount of turns at that point. So it helps kind of lessen that a bit, but I've always just been like, whatever. If someone wants to sit and do the math, I'm going to play my game the best that I can. And I'll be honest, I'm looking at, if someone else is done and I'm on my last round, even if we played it that way, I'm going to be looking. Do I need to keep going? You know,
Yeah.
because if I might have 6 white chips out and I still have a two in there, two or a three in my bag, I do not want to bust in the last round. So I am going to look and see what others have. Because if I don't have to press my luck, I won't. But if it's like crap, they're still ahead of me, I have no choice but to go, then I'm gonna go. But again, it doesn't bother me that someone's looking at my pot to see what they need to do. But so, we didn't play it. We did everything else right, but it was that last round we just played it friendly. Um, and yeah, I really love the game. I think it's great.
It is. It's a lot of fun. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to the next one. We've got the Hanging Gardens. So this is another older game, and this was the Spiel des Jahres recommended list on 2008. So it's another game that's 10 plus years old. And I really enjoy this game. It's a funky game where you're playing with cards, and the cards are divided into six squares, basically. So if you imagine a card being held in, I'll call it portrait orientation, there's a line down the middle from top down, and then there's two lines dividing it into thirds, um, going horizontally. So you have six areas in there, and then there's a number of different. Oh, what do they call it? Um, with something with an M, not mosaic. Anyway, it's there's a number of different. It's like a what, like a terrace. There's a park. There's a number of different style, like buildings or like backgrounds to them. And what you're trying to do. Oh, and each tile won't have something in all six spaces. I think at most or each card will only have up to three of these. So it might have one, it might have two, might have three in different places. And what you're trying to do is you have a starting card that's all blank. So all six spaces have nothing on them. And you have to place a card that you draw on on top of a card that you already have, where any building that's on it, underneath it has to be a blank space or another building. So, to give an example, if you have a card that's on the table as your starting card, you can't orient it such a way that, let's say, like one of the corners has a building on it and it's hanging off of the edge. It has to be fully on top of a blank space with a card underneath. So it's a interesting little mechanic because you're kind of like taking these cards and you're kind of spinning them around, trying to see where they're going to fit. And once you build up a couple of these buildings in a group, both along the flat edges, so orthogonally, you're building this group. You can score it at that point, and when you do, you put a temple on top of one of the pieces, and now you can no longer place a card on top of that particular spot until you move that temple. So it's a cool little setup where you're, like trying to decide which of these four cards that are in the market for you to take, which one to take, where you can put it, where it benefits you the most, where you can fit it so a building isn't off of the side of, let's say, of like your play area. And it's just a lot of fun. It scratches this itch of, like, think of it almost like tile placement with cards, and trying to puzzle your way into orienting this card in such a way that you're getting a benefit and you're not closing off areas. And I enjoy this game a lot, and I love to bring it out and introduce it to people. What did you think, Mark?
I at first I thought I wasn't going to care for this, and which is funny. I think that about most games you put on the table.
Yeah, that's true.
There's the theme for the con
Yeah.
game Euro games that Rob's going to make Mark play that he thinks he won't like, but will ultimately enjoy. Um, it, yeah. At first, I was just like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy this, and the I'm when it comes to like spatial games and stuff like that, I think the only thing that saved me on this was that you're allowed to take the card and kind of work around, figure out, is this going to work, and twist it and turn it and try to see where you can lay it. Um, and if you don't like it, then let me try a different one. Until you play the card, you can mess around with it. So I really like that. And when we first started, I was really like confused, and you kept telling me, once you scored it, don't worry about it. like, just cover it up. And I had a really hard time, like, well, I've built these. Why would I cover them
You want to
up?
try to protect it, yeah, and work
Yeah,
your way around it. It's yeah.
and then once I'm like, okay, once you said it to me a couple of times, and I finally started to listen. Then it was like, okay, I can cover these up. They're no good to me now. I can probably rescore. And you kept saying you can rescore them once you break that connection, type of thing. And you want to build out and give yourselves more ability to build. I really, really did enjoy this game a lot.
Mhm.
And which, again, surprised me. Um,
Oh, and I
it,
I I realized real quick that I totally forgot like the second half of the game, which is to collect the tiles. I just talked about the cards. Uh, Real quick,
oh, yeah.
there's these little tiles, and you're trying to collect sets of them. And for example, there'll be, let's say, a tile that has like a tiger on it, and it might have two scores on it. So the first score is if you have only one of these, and then the second is if you have two of them. Some tiles have three scores on them, so you need to collect sets of three to get the maximum points. Some have four, and then you have tiles that are like tigers, and then you have like the animal trainers that tie with them. There's gates and guards, which is another one. So in addition to doing this placement, when you score a region and you put your temple on top of it, like I had mentioned, you then draw a tile from the market of six tiles that are available. And you can only take certain ones based on, there's like three groups of them. And which ones you can choose from is dictated by the size of the region that you closed out, whether it's like three, four, or five or more in size. And then that is the second half of the game. And the interesting thing about it is that when you take these, you have to keep them all face down. So while you're playing the game, you have no idea where anybody's at score wise. That's a big surprise at the end. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're
But
not.
yeah, no, actually, no, I'm not. But still,
Yeah, no, it was so when we were done, it was just like we both have these big stacks of tiles, and it's like I remember you asking me, like, how do I feel? And I'm like, I have no clue what I even have.
yeah, me
Like,
either.
I had and you got to constantly keep looking, like, oh, do I have do so if I've got the statues, do I have the stonemason guy to go with it? Or if I got the gardens, do I have the gardener to go with it to get the bonus points? You're constant, and it's like, wait, how many of these tiles? Like the gates, okay, I need four of them to score the max, in the set. How many do I have? And it's like you're collecting all these things and trying to, decide what to gather. And um, it was just a lot of fun. I did enjoy it. It's a slower paced game because we're all sitting there going thinking and twisting the cards around, so it can take some time. So I imagine with more players, this could really be a long game, um, especially with newer people that are taking their time and trying to understand it. But it's very enjoyable, and we ended up, yeah, it was just great.
And it
And
shows
Quit
as a
didn't
45-minute game, 2 to 4 players. So I don't know.
so
Why did it take us
um
3 hours to play it?
because it was me, you were
There you
playing with
go.
me, that's why.
There you
um
go.
but I think the best game that we played, because of a certain aspect of it,
Oh,
was Ale Lacta Est, whatever. I'm probably butchered that, but it means the die is cast,
oh, is that what it
which,
means?
yeah, so
Okay.
that is a Latin word for the die is cast.
Oh, that's
Um,
that's fun.
the
Yeah, yeah.
players take on the role of Caesar and compete for the most prestige points. And I remember you were like reading the directions, and Rob was like, it's kind of funny. I don't know if you noticed like a big difference between you and me. You sat down every game and read the rules, start to front, explaining it. When I was explaining Quacks and Quedlinburg, like Quacks, I didn't even open the book. I don't think. I
Yeah.
think I looked one thing up to confirm something, but I was like, "Here's how you play." And then with Sagani, I was like, I had to reference something, or I think I started on that one. I was just like, I kind of started because I think it was the Deep Rock. I didn't open the book. I was just
Mhm.
like, I just like telling people how to play, and here you're being all official, like here's everything. So, like on this one, it was just like you start reading, and it's like you're Caesar, and you're trying to get these points, and you're like going into the story, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
but again, it's like one of those don't judge a book by what the story and or the don't judge a game by the story or the the words on the back. But it just sounded like this sounded so corny. But I like dice rollers, and you get 8 dice to roll, and I love dice rolling, and so having out like these different areas like the Senate and what was it, the Castorum,
Yeah.
the let's see, what is there, a temple, which we didn't use the temple in a 2-player game, but then the forum. So basically you're rolling dice, and then you're placing dice out on either the Senate, the Castrum, or the forum. um there's another place you can put them. I'll tell you that's the best part here in a minute. But like if you put your dice on the castrum, they have to be like, um I think that was the one where it's sets, or no, that was like you had to have all of one number, like 666 or 555. So you're putting your dice out there and whoever has the most dice of the larger number of the run type of thing, they win that spot.
Yep.
And then there's the Senate. It's like it's got to be in a run, like a 1 2 3 or 4 5 6. So you're rolling dice, and then you're placing dice in those areas. And then so if you win the Senate, you get cards. You get to pick 3 of these cards, and they're like bonus cards. And then you pick one to keep, and you get rid of the other 2. If you won the castrum, then you're gaining like a province. And there's like 2 on the board, and you pick which one you want, and they're all different colors. And they have different point values to them. And then the forum, there's like these columns, and so that allows 4 dice to be in there, and it's just a single dice. And so and they've got a rule of how you place your dice there. And ultimately, you want ones down, because the 1 is going to be at the far left. And if you put a 2 down, then you place it in numerical order in the forum area. So, and if you have ones, you're putting it at the very first and shoving everyone else down the line. And what there's always going to be 4 people. There's men and women tiles with different colors, so they can go into the different provinces. And ultimately, you're trying to get the man and a woman together of the same color, so you put them into the same colored province, so that you can score their points and the province. And each of the people have their different values, so you want the higher value, so you want to be able to pick people first, so you get your pick. But then at the end of the round, it determines whose dice are in the row, gets to pick. And then if your dice gets shoved off of the forum, they land in
The latrina.
the latrina, and it's the crapper, folks. And it's so funny. The tile, it's like the roof has been removed. It's like a 3D picture of this building, but the roof is missing, and you can see that it's a divided building with 2 rooms, and there's women in one and there's men in the other, and you can see that it's like a benched toilet with just with the hole in it, and there's people sitting in there doing their business. So your tiles that or your dice that don't get used in the forum, they get dumped into the
Literally.
latrina.
Yep.
And then any dice that you lose out on the castrum or the Senate, then like if I took the Senate and Rob had dice there, though, and he lost, so he didn't get the cards, his dice go to the latrina. So, and then it sounds bad, but it's actually not bad to have dice there, because every dice that ends up in there each round, you get a reroll token. And you can use those tokens whenever you want and as often as you want. So, and you can re-roll like any dice that you want with a token. So it comes in handy later on as you're like, man, I need another 6 on the castrum to win it. And you're not rolling them. You can throw the reroll chip out and roll all the dice, and you can keep doing it and keep doing it. But each time you do it, it costs you a chip. So it's not, like I said, it's not bad to end up there, but it was just really funny. And it was just like, yeah, you get this reroll from being in the toilet, and then it's like you're using this token to flush the dice that you just rolled. You're like flushing them and redoing it. So I thought it was funny, but it's a really fun little game. We played this one twice, um, and yeah, it was just fun. Um, and of course, I won both games. Again, I like I said, I couldn't lose this day, but
Yeah,
that did end my winning streak of about a 24-hour straight win streak
there
because
you go.
Rob was like, "I'm done with this crap. I'm done with it. I'm gonna put Mark in his place," and he did on the next game.
Yeah, and um, Aliyah Yakta S did get re-implemented a number of years ago as Order of the Gilded Compass in 2016. So they are the same game, just different themes, same designers. As far as I know, they haven't really changed anything between the versions. But yeah, so if you're looking for it, you can find it maybe as one of the two. The next game is Santiago de Cuba. This is a game that is kind of an offshoot of the game Cuba that's been around for a really long time. It's a very popular game, and it uses a couple of really interesting mechanics in it. So uh, there's a rondel that's in it where you move this little card around in a circle across like 10 different spots and a port. At each of the spots is a person that gives you certain things. Like you go to one person, they might give you two tobacco, another one gives you two sugarcane, another one gives you two money. So you get resources at each of these. And when you visit a person, they have a colored rose on their tile. And I forgot to mention that all of these on the board, the the people, and then there's these buildings as well. They're all tiles. So every time you play the game, you shuffle the tiles and you place them randomly so that each game is essentially a slightly different experience because things come out in a different order, and that can definitely affect the gameplay. So let's say you move your vehicle to a point where you gain like 2 coins. There's going to be a colored rose on that tile that'll tell you to go one of 3 spots. Let's say that has it's like a yellow rose, and there might be 3 different tiles there. So you get to choose one of those 3 tiles, which further gives you some kind of action, either to deliver goods to the shipyard or to convert one good to another good. Or there's some tiles over there that give you victory points even. But the other mechanic in there that I forgot to mention as well is while you're moving your vehicle in the rondel, if you move to the next spot, it's a free move. But then after the first spot, each spot costs you a coin. And that's where you can help advance the game quicker if you move it a whole bunch, because when you go to the port you trigger a delivery cycle. Or if you want to prevent your opponent from getting something, you can potentially move it forward. Or if you really want to get something that would, like, you can skip a spot to get something that your opponent might have gotten. So there's various reasons why you might advance it quickly. But when you finally get back to the port with the vehicle, let's say back at the starting spot, you trigger a delivery cycle where there's a big ship in the shipyard, and it's asking for 4 different goods and certain quantities. So when you're there, you then take turns delivering. Let's say if it had like there's a die on it that dictates the good and the quantity. So let's say it's sugar cane with 2, it's cigars at 4, and rum at 1. As you deliver those, you get points. What is it? 2 points, I think, per good that you deliver, I believe, initially. And then it can get more expensive. It can go up to 4 victory points per if you're not able to deliver on the first pass. But it's a really interesting game. I'll say it's a very lightish, light to medium game. Very easy to teach, very easy to pick up, and I think it's a lot of fun as well. And I really enjoy Santiago de Cuba, and it's one of uh, one of the good games that I have from like the 2010 time frame. I forget exactly when it came out. Any thoughts on this one, Mark? Maybe not. Um, Looks like Mark might have stepped away briefly. All right, we'll go on to the next one. The next game is called Numeri. Numeri is another game in the Schmidt Spiel Easy Play series, and this one it's basically like a roll and move game where it has to go. There's a track that kind of, what's a good way to put it? It kind of like snakes through the board and then does kind of like a little loop, and it finishes up in the center. And initially, you start off at the beginning of this long track of about like 30 some spaces. You start off on the negative side, and you roll a die, and then you have 5 little playing pieces that you're placing on the board. So, for example, if you roll a 1, you place your 1 piece on the next available spot at the starting point or the next forward spot. So, Mark, I'm talking about Numeri.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
what a
we'll go back to Santiago de Cuba in a
Santiago
second.
de Cuba.
Yeah. So as I was saying, you roll a 1, then you place your 1 piece as close to the start as possible. If that spot is taken, you place it to the next forward spot. And then this way, you're basically placing all your pieces out on the board. Once you have all 5 pieces out on the board, actually, I take that back. As soon as there's a piece on the board, if you roll that number again, now you get to advance your piece 1 spot forward or the next spot forward if the piece in front of you is taken. So, for example, if you're at spot 3 and 4 and 5 are taken by your pieces or an opponent's pieces, then you get to jump everybody and go ahead of everybody. And there's an interesting mechanic where if you have 3 of your pieces together, including the one that you just moved, so you have 3 pieces grouped together, you now get to take another turn. So you can potentially like chain a couple of moves if you get the correct roll and your pieces have the right orientation. And then once you pass a certain marker on the board, you can also divide some, you can divvy up some of your rolls into 2 moves. So for example, if you roll a 5, you can move a 4 and a 1, or a 2 and a 3. And that makes it kind of interesting and a little gamery. But as Mark and I were talking, it's kind of cool to do it, and we started doing it a whole bunch at the beginning. But there's a cost to it where you wind up moving like all of your low numbered pieces, and then the big numbered 5 and potentially the 4. They're kind of like at the back of the line, And the goal of the game is to get your pieces advanced towards the end, because once the last three pieces are filled up, that's what triggers the end of game. And then certain spots on the board are numbered. So your score is if you land your piece on one of those pieces, I'm sorry, one of those spots that have a number on them, you take the number on your disc and the number on the space and you multiply them together. So, for example, if you land the 1 on the 27, then that's 27 points. Or if you land the 5 on the 20, that's 100 points. So, you definitely want to get your bigger numbers towards the end, because that'll score you more points. And then there's a little bit of a challenge as well, where if your piece is on what I'll call a blank spot, that serves no points whatsoever. So you can have the 4, 5, and the 3 not on a numbered spot, and then at the end of the game, all three of them score you nothing, and you're just going to be scoring maybe with a 2 and 1. But it's a fun little game. This is a game that I used to play with my son. It was kind of like family game night, and the three of us would play the game together, and he had a lot of fun with it. So this is another game that a 5-year-old could play. So I figured Mark would know how to play. He could at least handle this one, right?
It took me a little bit, but no,
Yeah.
this one was actually my favorite of these easy play games that
Oh,
we did.
really? Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one a lot. Um, yeah, it was like at the start, it was just like, okay, we're moving. It was like wasn't really thinking about it, and then it was like, oh, we can. Then it was like, oh wait, if I get three together, I get like a free turn, and then again realizing, crap, every time I split my five and to move the smaller ones, the five is getting further back, and then you're like, when you get near that end, it's like, oh, do you want to move them into the first scoring spot or try to get him, which you don't want your one up there. You want your five up there. And like our fives were behind us. And it was just like, but then you got to move into there somehow before the other player does. And yeah, this I think would be just chaos with four people. The game would go really fast with four
Oh, it
people.
would.
And you probably wouldn't get, and you wouldn't get any free turns. I don't think you get in three in a row with four people out there, but I don't know. This one was just a lot of fun. Again, it's just I would love to have this one. I liked all the easy play games. I thought they were all great. This one was my favorite. Um, so, but yeah, I really dug this.
Yeah, and this is the one for some reason isn't on BGG. So I wonder if it got.
It is, but it's called Moonleap.
Oh, it is. Moonleap.
Yeah, so you can look for it and select it, but then the page comes up as Moonleap, and it's basically the same type of game, but it's been
Oh,
changed, rethemed to this moon theme
oh yeah, Moonleap
with little
yeah, it
yeah.
re-implements Numeri.
But like, and I was looking at this and I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing, but I don't know. I want the one we played. Like this one's got the board and it's going in different shapes, and I just think the simplicity of the original is perfectly fine. You know, I don't. And then there's a frog one that's basically the same thing with frogs leaping over, but Numeri just seemed like it was just simple. Like this type of game, I don't think needs to necessarily be themed.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the moon one added anything. And it looks like these little spacemen meeples would just
Oh
fall
yeah, I'm
over the
looking at
way,
it now. Yeah.
like so. But anyways, yeah, it was fun, really fun. Again, not a long game. It's a good little quick game to play, and yeah, good choice again.
Yeah, Moonleap looks like it's a really small box game. I
Yeah,
wonder I wonder when it was done. Yeah, same designer, Rudy Hoffman.
No.
Interesting. Yeah, I would think. Oh wait, Moonleap. It came out in 2022, so that's a relatively recent reprint.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they figure they're not selling Numeria anymore. They repackage it with a new name and new components and call it something else, and
Yeah,
it'll
it's a
sell a million copies.
yeah. It
I
looks like it's a
that's
new company that redid it.
so
Okay. Do you want to talk about your thoughts on Santiago de Cuba?
yes. So again, sticking with my theme, when you pulled this out, I was like, what are we doing? Um and I will say this. The one problem I had with this game was the little shield, the little tile car thing that you build to like hide your pieces, right? That
Oh
thing was so
yeah,
small.
yeah,
I'm like, this needs to be larger. We ended up both like I ended up putting a dice tray up. Rob had this really nice wooden rectangle dice tray that I just stuck upright and just put my stuff behind it because it's like I can't keep trying to move the stuff out of here and get to what I need. And I'm like, they needed to make that a little bigger. That's the only failing I saw in the game. Make that thing bigger. However, I loved the way because when you first were talking about it, and I'm like, okay, so this board, like we're moving around this path, but why are we sharing a car? Like this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, I don't understand how we're gonna move when we have to move the same car. And like once we started, I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, because you can totally hose someone over. Like if I know that like you did it to me once because you know I was hitting the lawyer. And so you closed the lawyer. And I thought you were gonna, I think I closed one on you to keep you from getting something that I thought you were gonna go for. It's like you can close the building down in front of you. So
yeah.
then it's
Until
like
the
you have
car
to.
passes.
Right. And so, like, if it's the one right in front of you, then I can force you to spend money because you can't go to the freebie in front of you. You have to go past it and pay to go to the next one. So it's like, I'm like, that was just kind of a neat little, kind of mean mechanic, but not totally jerky. And then, like, yeah, it's like, okay, I'm planning out which town people I want to visit. And the next thing I know, you decide not to go one forward, you go two or three forward and take it. Or you take the car past the one I was, planning
Yeah,
to go to. So I can't get to it. And it was just like, and here you're dropping money. And I know you're going, ha ha, sucker, you're not getting what you wanted. Um, and then, so that was really unique. Um, and then the goods, and you're trying to get goods that are needed, which are constantly changing. And then you got the buildings that you can buy a building so that if and I know I got the wrong one. I did it. I think by the time I caught on, it was too late. I didn't grab the buildings I should have, but I still think I did a good job with the ones that I claimed that, if you're going to go for victory point, you're going to give me one at the same time type of thing. But I missed the one where you could. I thought the first one that was out was like a red and a black. I thought it was exchanging a red for a black, and then realized much later it was like you were exchanging them for like 2 victory points each. And I was like, crap, that's the building I should have taken. Um, but yeah, it's the whole moving around the port and and getting your goods and then trying to beat each other to get those goods turned in for money, and then being able to change the exchange rate of the goods and stuff like that. I just like, that's like really neat because again, you could be jerky. Like maybe the goods are up to $3 or $4 4 coins a per good, and if I know we're coming around and I don't have anything that's needed, and I'm guessing that you've got quite a few, I can go to that flag building and lower the rate that you're going to get. So there's a lot of like little jerky moves you can do towards the other player, but they're not like brutally terrible, but they're just little jerky moves, kind of, But it can be used against you as well. Um, it was really cool. Again, it was like this, and the one thing that I gained out of, and I think I can say it at this point. Um, the one thing I walked away from this weekend was I even said to you, I have got to start being open to play more stuff. And I am very open to playing anything. I was like, whatever you want to put out, I'll play. But I gotta stop going when the game comes out, or even when the box is on the table, stop rolling my eyes or
Right.
going, oh crap,
Being
here we go.
judgmental on theme or how it looks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because it's just like I had so much fun with all of these games, and even the one I said was the mediocre one, I still enjoyed it. It just that was the only one that didn't work for me. Everything else was like, "Holy crap, this is fun." And almost every single one of them, I prejudged it as soon as the box came out or
Yeah.
the board was put out, and I'm just, "Oh, okay, here we go," But, after the 3rd day, I'm like, "Okay."
What's
Bob's
next?
not steered me wrong yet,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What other ugly looking game do you have that's gonna be awesome? So, yeah, I this was fantastic. It was one of those that I would have liked to have actually played it again, but it was very late,
Yeah.
and this was the last night before I left, so it's like, we gotta get to bed, and it had
Yeah.
been a long day of gaming.
Yeah.
Um, this was, I think, our longest, and, yeah, it was a so and I know by the end of this game, I was like, and I don't know I think I was getting very tired because I remember, like, I started out what I felt like really strong. I was getting goods, I was cashing them in, I was getting XP or victory points, and then by, like, about halfway through, all of a sudden, it just seemed like I couldn't get a good to save my life. Everything just seemed to go the wrong way,
Blame it on
and,
dinner. Dinner kicked in. The
uh,
carbs.
it it was late.
Yeah.
It was late. We've been up late every night for days. And it was just like, I think it just at that point, because it was that day was, I was, it was a kind of a tired day, but I remember specifically playing this game about halfway through, just getting very tired. But it's one that's like, I want to play this game again.
Hmm.
You know, this is one I definitely wanted to play again, but it was just too late that night.
And it's on Yukata, so it's definitely playable. We can do it.
Yeah, you know,
But it is
BGA
different.
and stuff it's just not
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
And sadly, we were going to play Castles of Burgundy,
Oh
and
yeah, we
we
never did.
didn't.
Oh,
I don't know how we missed it,
dang it.
but because you got 8,000 games in your house, and every time I'd say, "Hey, Rob, let's how about this one?" You would come to the table with 6 or 7 more boxes of. We don't have to play them; they're just suggestions,
Hmm.
and we'd play
Yeah,
them.
and then I go,
But
you want to play a mean game or a light game?
so,
I gave
San,
options.
yeah,
Yeah.
this Santiago de Cuba, thumbs up all the way. Yeah, very good game.
And I really like the art on this game.
Yes.
It's like this very like vibrant, it really reminds me of like it has like a Caribbean feel from like the 40s or 50s or 60s. You know what I mean? It's they did a great job on the artwork on this. I enjoyed it. So
All right.
you want to take the next two? Start with
Sure.
level
Level
X.
X.
Yes.
So again, this is kind of like Numeri, where it was rebranded to Moon Jump or whatever. Level X, if you look for it on BGG, you're going to see something come up called Mountain Goats. And again, they I now level X is probably this was I would say my second favorite of these easy play games. It, it it was probably the I'd say it's the one that, of the three, this is the one that had the most strategy to it. Um
Oh yeah. Hmm.
and I really like this a lot. Um and but again, this is when it's like I wanted the one you have, like the copy. The rebranding of some of this stuff into like mountain goats climbing, you know, like you didn't have to rebrand it. This is like perfect the way it is.
Yeah, they
Um,
they put like a theme on it and made the pieces cutesy. Whereas what Level X is, it's kind of a boring looking board. It's very colorful, and the
it is very
pieces
colorful. Yeah.
they look like kind of like hourglasses, sort of.
Yeah.
And anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, but it's I'm trying to find this mountain goat one, and it's like it's just it's ugly. I get the goats are the middle mountain goats are cute. They're funny looking, but it's just I don't think it's as I think it's more blah than the other one, to be honest. I like the one you have. I don't like what I'm seeing at the mountain goat board. So, but it's and they got the bonuses. So if you can get one of each color, the first person to get that gets a 15 bonus chip, and you're relying on the dice roll, and um yeah, it was dice, right? Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, four
yeah.
dice.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And you're using them to determine what you're gonna play. And it's just, and you can kick people off of the scoring space, and then they got to start over. And it's just, this was a lot of fun, a very easy game, very simple, but there is strategy to it. Like when you're rolling your dice, you're like, okay, do I want to? Oh, I could take the 9, or well, maybe I want to get a 6 and then use the 3 with the 5 to get an 8, or can something score me, or should I use something multiple times to move further up to the score track or score two different numbers? It's just and it was just, yeah, good good stuff. Good stuff. So,
Yeah, I'm just
I
look.
need this.
I was just looking at mountain goats, and there is no board. It uses cards to make out the board, so it is bigger. So it uses square cards that they remind me of the shape that of the ones in Uchronia, the buildings. So you have like what I think four or five. Let me see for top down view. There's four or
Oh,
five
I don't know
cards,
what I was looking
four,
at.
six cards, three
Yeah, this is very
sevens.
different.
Yeah.
This isn't bad, but I wouldn't want to put the cards out like
Yeah, because they'll move
I guess they're
around.
cheap. They'll move around, and putting one board out's easy. And I'm sorry, printing all these different cards and printing all of these in different runs, different artwork, different numbers. You can't tell me that's cheaper than just printing out one tiny board.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't believe that.
Mountain Goats does come in a tiny little box. So the cards are probably just a little bit smaller than the box. So it's got a much smaller footprint on the shelf.
Yeah, but
I know.
level X was a small as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So
And Level X was 2010 Spiel des Jahres recommended.
there
How
you
about
go.
that?
Yeah, I wouldn't buy the mountain goat one. I would definitely try to get level
Ooh,
X.
Mountain Goats, 16 bucks at Card House Games.
Whatever.
It's cheap.
They can keep it.
Oh
If it's
wow.
not level X, it's clop.
I
So
was going to say, yeah, Level X is available for 20 euros on
looks
eBay.
like it's available no.
Yeah.
Through the geek market, Looks like I can get it for like $22 used. So might have to try the geek market out and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later after
Yeah.
the show. But yeah, great game. And so you wanted me to talk about the next one as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, and I'll
Okay.
finish up.
Okay, so again, Rob he was done with me winning. So he dominated Sunday, and then he decided to throw me a bone and give me one last touch of victory by doing a co-op game. And that was called The Game. And this was um you place out two cards that are they have a number 1 on them, and then it basically has like an arrow pointing up and then a smaller number. It says 99. You put two cards out that say the number 100 and then an arrow pointing downward and then a number 2. And the object is we each had we have 5 cards in our hand, I think, and we are not allowed to talk to each other. Well, you can talk, but you can't say what numbers you have in your hand. And the goal is to play all the cards. If you can play all of the cards in the deck, then you're like the expert, you win the game, right? That's the only way to really win the game, is to play all the cards. So what you're doing is I have 5 cards all randomly drawn with all these different numbers, and the one you have 2 stacks that will build up from 1 to 99 and 2 that build from 100 down. So I can put a card on any stack. But obviously, when we first started, I was like, okay, I think I had a 98 and a 97 in my hand. So I was like, now I can tell Rob, well, I went for, you decide who goes first. So I told him, I said, I'm going to go first. I'm really good at, I can start strong, but I'm hosed after that. And that's all I can tell him, right? So I can't say, well, I got a 98 and a 97, and then I've got a 50 or 40. You can't tell what you have. So you're trying to communicate in kind of very vague ways. So he's like, all right, if you're confident you can go, then go ahead. So I put down my 98, my 97, and then everything else I had was like between 30 and 50. So I'm like, I don't want to put any of that down, because you want to be as close to that number as you can, because you don't want to, once I get that 100 deck, if we get that down to 2, then we're hosed. Like, we can't put anything else on it. So you want to do it as slow as possible. Now, the only ability that we have to help us out is if we have a card. So say that deck gets down to an 87, and then say a 97 comes up. Okay, I use a different card because I already played a 97. So say we get down to 72 on that same deck that was working our way down. If Rob or I has an 82, you can put it on top and go back 10 points. So it's like the only way you can go backwards on either deck is to put a card 10 points away from it in the wrong direction. So it allows you to go back 10, which is a lifesaver. It's like, yes. So you're looking for those opportunities in your hand of what can I play to hopefully go backwards on either track 10 spaces to give you more leeway on playing cards. So it sounds easy. And when we first start, and I was like, well, this is gonna be cake. Like, I'm like, how hard can this be? Well, it's harder than it sounds. And because when you're talking, I remember one Rob's like, don't play on this deck. And you can say that. It says in the rules, you can say, don't play this pile or whatnot. And I'm like, well, I was going to play there. And I think it was on the 1. And I had a 3 in my hand. And he's saying, don't play there. And I'm like, and then I'm just like, how strong do you feel about that? And he's like, I feel strong. And I'm sitting there going, okay, so he must have a 2. Okay, so I won't play there. I put something else down that hurt us on the other side by a much larger margin. So then it's his turn, and he puts down a 6. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
That was my best card.
But mine was better.
I would have caused more damage.
So it's really fun because you're like, now you're trying to communicate, okay, I have a very strong feeling that that I should play here type of thing. You're trying to figure out, okay, we got to learn a language now. Like, am I really close or am I 9 off? Am I, but it was a lot of fun and we pulled it off. We got down to the end and it was getting a
It
little
was tough.
close
Yeah.
and we pulled it off and played every card. And it was so satisfying. So just like, yes, we conquered this thing. I ended up immediately buying the game. Now, my complaint
Oh yeah.
on this is that the game version that's available today is not the same one that Rob has. His cards have like this, it looks like an evil fun. It's funny that the box looks like it's got a skull on it. It's like red and black, right? Everything looks like this. Like it might be a like this death game. And we were commenting on it's like, ooh, the game. Because even says like, will you play the game or will the game play you? It says like on the box. And it's like, ooh, it's gonna kill you. And it's got this ominous like Halloween, horror type of theme to it. But the cards are awesome. Like they're all basically the same. They're very easy to see. And like they when they reprinted it, it's got all these weird artworks and weird colors and it's like, "Oh, I hate this." But it's like, "I want this game." And it's like, I really and maybe I should have looked into this geek market thing. Maybe someone's got it for sale, but um I freaking want this thing. Um, I truly want this game, but I want the version that Rob had. Um,
And what's
and
funny is that when the game came out, there were a lot of people that did not like like the black skull version, which is maybe why they changed it.
it's so much better. I think this new one is going to be. I haven't played it. It just arrived today. I am going to take it with me tomorrow, but it's. I just feel like um, it's more distracting. Like you don't need the art and the different colors and all that to. It just needs to be about the numbers. And
Yeah,
that's why I think the artwork that on the deck you have is so much better. It's just the numbers. You just need to focus on that, and the cards should not take away from the game. Some of them look like they're going to actually be a little hard to see because of all the different colors.
yeah,
So I'll give it a shot. I'll definitely report back when I get it played and see how it works. But maybe it won't be that bad. But I definitely prefer
like the
the version that you
the
had.
original. And I know I told you this. I think while we were playing that they had the game come out at Target, and I want to say that it was an exclusive at some point where that's the current design that you bought. It was a Target exclusive. And then now that's like the only one that's out there because they probably stopped making the old one. And
Probably,
maybe
yeah.
the skull was off-putting to some people. Who knows? And then yeah, the last game that we finished up with actually this is one. It's like we only had like an hour and a half, I think, left to play. And so I gave you the choice. I'm like, you want to do a deck builder or do you want to do sort of like a mean confrontational game? And you chose the deck builder. And I'm like, okay.
Uh,
So we played Valley of the Kings. This is a deck builder from AEG that came out a couple years back. And it's, I want to say like a basic deck builder that's themed, in Egyptian times. So think, like King Tut pyramids kind of thing, sarcophaguses and those black beetles. I'm thinking of like the mummy here, but it's a deck builder. So think the typical discard pile, draw deck, hand of five. some of the cards can be used, or the cards can be used for money. They can be used to play as actions. And the interesting thing about this game that kind of is a little twist from all the others is that you have a tomb. So what you do is you entomb cards throughout the game, and only the cards that are in your tomb count as points at the end of the game. So the tomb not only serves as a place to put your victory cards in, but it also serves as a spot to get rid of cards from your deck. So all of those really weak cards. So the cards come in three levels: level 1, 2, and 3. The level 3 cards are really powerful. They're also really expensive, um, but they're kind of the ones that give you some really like game changing actions. And when you're later in the game, you don't want those like one coin cards because they're weak. I mean, they're kludging up your deck. So you want to get rid of them, and you do that by putting them in your tomb. Alternatively, you can also sacrifice them. But most of the activities to sacrifice, meaning to uh, get the card out of the game altogether, like put it back in the box style almost. Sacrificing. Um, the game pushes you to sacrifice the more expensive cards. So you don't necessarily want to sacrifice the cheapies. Like there was one card that's like, what, sacrifice a card and then take a card from the market, or they called it the pyramid. Take a card from the pyramid at like twice its value. Wasn't that the card, Mark?
Yeah.
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 But it's a fun, very small box deck builder that's very portable, and it's fun. And I remember, Mark, you had mentioned it. It doesn't have any extra stuff to it. It's just cards. So it doesn't have any tokens, doesn't have any money, doesn't have any counters. So it's
It's TSA approved.
oh yes, very TSA approved. That's correct. But and then one other fun thing about it is that as you play the game, you place 6 cards out in front of you, but they're placed in the shape of a pyramid. So you have 3 cards, then 2 cards above it, and then a single card, which is like the peak of the pyramid. And you can only purchase cards from the bottom row. And then as you take those cards, then they call it like the cards crumble down, so they slide down from above to fill the spots underneath, and then only the top cards get replaced from the draw deck. So that's also an interesting uh, little mechanic that it's got built into it, and it can also help you like plan things. So if you see a card in the second or third row, you might be incentivized to take certain cards over others to make that card come down quicker, and be available for you to buy, and hopefully your opponent doesn't pick them up instead. But yeah, that's Valley of the Kings. Any thought on this one, Mark?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting because I remember telling you it was like all the deck builders I've played are kind of like big, all sorts of different things, or you have deck building as part of the game. Like my favorite is Clank, and you got a board and you're moving people around. This was just straight on cards, and that's it. It was like you said, it's a small box, and there's so much strategy and things. And I liked how the way that you place the cards in the pyramid, and when you take from the bottom, and so you got to think about, okay, if I'm taking this card here, that's going to come down. That's going to let your opponents take it. So do you want to grab that one or hope they talk? If it's something you want, then you need to have the one that says shuffle some card, or replace some cards or change their position and then buy it. But then if you do that, maybe you won't have enough gold to buy it. It's just that it is truly just 100% just a deck builder, and that's it. And it was like the first one I've ever played that's it. You know, I really thought that was really cool. I at first wasn't really digging the theme, but it I like I don't know the art and stuff and the different things that the cards do really worked well. And it's like I was kind of bummed that we ran out of time. We didn't get to actually
Mhm.
finish the game, but I don't think I was going to get much moving. I felt like I was struggling with it,
Yeah.
but it's one that I'm definitely going to be playing this again. Um, I really think it was really cool, and I can't wait to play it.
Yeah, and this is one that really benefits from repeated plays because it really helps to know the cards a little bit because, and I forgot to mention this earlier, as you're entombing your cards, to get them out of your hand, what you also want to do is build sets. So there's various sets in the game, like there's a number of amulets, a number of books, um, and for example, if you're doing amulets, if you're collecting a set, the set scores how many ever you have in the set. So let's say if you have 5 of the set of amulets, then you score that number squared. So that would score you 25 points altogether. So you're not only trying to dump cards into the tomb, but you're also trying to put some cards in there of specific sets to score you the most victory points. And they do have an interesting rule in there of while it's your turn, you cannot look through your deck. I think or through your tomb. You can look at it, when it's not your turn, but it's like when you need it most, you better remember. You better remember what's in there and which cards you want to put in there to get your maximum points. But yeah, Valley of the Kings it's a fun little game. Very well done game by AEG. All right. So there's just one. So I think that's it. Yeah, that is all for the this board game life con 2024 recap. So we talked about a lot of games. I think this is our longest episode so far, and
It is.
and
I just looked a moment
yeah,
ago.
and
We're over 2.5 hours.
yeah, and yeah, we got one more game to talk about, and then
And then we're out of
yeah,
here.
then we're out of here.
So we talked earlier. So Rob, about a game called Roll to the Top Journeys. So on that day that we went down to the city to have lunch and got stuck in traffic, we decided we were gonna. Rob's like, "Oh, I got to run you to my two game shops," and so we got stuck in traffic going that way too. Um, but at the first place we went, um, I we were looking and I was like, got to buy something, but I got to keep it small. So I picked up a game called Dice Command. Looked interesting and couldn't find anything else. We're getting ready to. I paid and I turned to walk out the store and I see this game standing there called Roll to the Top Journeys, and I'm like, I just saw a review on this, and so I stopped. I picked it up. I looked at it. And I'm like, yes, this is one I want. So I turned around and said, sorry, but I need this too. So we got back and played it. So Roll to the Top Journeys did come out in 2023, so it's very new. It's published by All Play, designed by Peter Joustra and Korn von Moorsel. I hope I said that right. It does play 1 to 6 players, and the playtime is like 20 minutes with ages 11 and up. This is a dice game, so it's roll and write. And basically, the quick rundown is you're trying to be the first player to fill in enough boxes to make it to the top of the landmark in this roll and write. It does have, like, I would call it a medium sized box. And what I mean by that is it's about half size of a traditional square box. Um, and it,
It's like
the
a
pieces that
quarter of the size almost of like a Ticket to Ride. isn't it? Because it's not
No, it's
nowhere near
about
as
half.
tall. But I mean, it's nowhere near as tall or
All right,
thick.
hold on.
You don't need to get your
It's
yardstick.
it's almost as tall.
Oh, really?
Almost.
Oh, wow.
It's yeah, and it is about half the width. Uh so it's a little less than half, but anyways, it's closer to half than
Gotcha.
a quarter, that's for sure.
Okay.
Included in the game is you get 6 different dice, and they're all unique shapes. Now, I say unique shapes, and people are going to come out going, "Dude, it's a D20, a D12, a
4,
D8, a
8.
6, and a 4." But unique is in the 4 because the D4 is not a pyramid. It is actually looks more like a gemstone. It's like 4 think of it like a rectangle with like diamond ends on it or something. It's really neat. It's kind of like a long dice that you roll. It's really cool looking. You get 6 dry erase markers, and then you get there's 3 there's a total of 6 landmarks. So like 6 boards, but you get 3 it's it plays 6 people. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. 6 each of 3 different double-sided landmark dry erase boards. I guess I should have just read it as I wrote it earlier. That makes sense. But anyways, there's enough to play 6 people. There's no colorblind, no Rob. We've talked about that before in other games. There's no issues with that here. It's extremely easy storage. The rules are very easy to read. There are some examples shown. The artwork in this game is it's really beautiful. I was impressed even with the box. So the box itself is mostly it's like white, and it's very colorful, showing a bunch of the monuments like coming out of like a D20 on the die. It's really actually very neat. And then the box itself, and if you're looking straight at it, you may not notice it, but if you like when you tip the box, you'll see like the dice shapes like embossed on the box, and like as you and you can then they're raised, like you can feel them. It's just really the box itself is gorgeous. Um, and then all of the cards that are the dry erase cards just have, like one of the monuments is the Eiffel Tower, and it's just got beautiful Parisian artwork around and behind it, like setting the theme. Um, just gorgeous game. And then one thing I'd say it's kind of special is that this is very quick to learn. I think it's very fun to play, and because it's based on dice, there's a lot of replayability. Now, what's even more unique about this game is that you can roll up to 5 dice. We mentioned that there's the 6-sided, the 8, 20, 12, and a 4, but there's also another 6-sided dice. And whoever the active player is, they can roll. I think you can roll as many dice as you want of the ones for the board, but you always roll this other one. I forgot what it was called. Um, but this one that's black and has some different symbols on it, doesn't have any numbers, it just has symbols like plus, minus, these arrows pointing either way, stuff like that. So what happens is you roll them. So I'm going to say I'm going to roll 3 dice, that we're going to start playing with 3 dice, and I'm going to roll this additional one. So I roll those 4. The black one comes up and it has a plus on it. I put that in front of Rob. Now, the numbers that came up on the other 3 are the numbers that we have to either combine the numbers or use them individually and write on your board. And what you're doing is you're placing the number, and you're going to put these numbers from the bottom to the top of your landmark. But each, as you move up, the number above that, so the next level, that number has to be equal to or higher than the numbers below. And when you're rolling 5 dice and you hit like a 20, you roll D20 at the very beginning of the game, you're like, you can't really use it because it's like, where do I put it? Do you put it all the way at the top? Well, you don't know. You might hit 20 somewhere in the halfway up your of your monument. So you might have to say, well, I might have to skip using that one. And you're trying to get low numbers to start, and maybe you're rolling dice that don't, you want the smaller sided dice to get those lower numbers. So we had the three dice. We put our numbers on our card. We can use any numbers we want, and you can combine numbers to make larger numbers. And when we're both done, then I pass the dice to Rob. Now, Rob, remember I passed one to him at the beginning of the game. It had a plus on it. That means he has to add one of the two dice we didn't put in the pool. And he can pick either one, but he has to pull one in. And now he's going to roll that black dice again. So now he's rolling total of 5 dice. He rolls those. The black one comes up with 2 arrows. He passes that to me, and then we use the numbers on the other dice he rolled. And you go back and forth until someone has completely filled every box in their monument. Now, the dice that had the arrows on it, that means I take one of the dice at the end of that round. I would take one of the dice that's in the pool, replace it with one that's not in the pool. So your dice are constantly changing out. The chances of what you're going to roll, you never know what it's going to be, because you've got such a variation of dice, and you never know which one. You can't count on the four die, the D4 being there if you need it. Um, and then you basically, the first person that completely fills their monument wins. If both people, like if both run, I think the first game, I'll have to go back and look, but I think both. No, I won one, you won one. But if if we had both completed at the same time, then it's a win. Now there are rules that allow you to play multiple games, and then you add up. You basically keep track of the squares you missed, and then like whoever has the most misses loses or something to that. Then they also have an alteration to make the game harder. Is if you find it too easy, then you can start with high numbers and working your way up and having to get lower and lower numbers as you go. And they state that that is a much harder way of playing the game. So if you find it the base way too hard, you can play it that way. Um, the the everything about the game was really well done. I think my only complaint was, and maybe it's just the marker I had, um, was a very fine tipped marker, and I felt that it needed to be a little not so fine pointed. Um, it wasn't like my numbers weren't writing and couldn't get enough dark ink on the thing. And again, that might just be the marker itself. I didn't try another one, but sometimes with those, you just need to get different felt tip pen. But the cards, the boards are fantastic. They come in this nice little envelope. So like the first two, there's like 6 cards of the first 2 levels, which is a pyramid and the Eiffel Tower. They come in an envelope. Inside the envelope is a postcard that has a story on it. So basically, the story is like you're this artist is taking a journey around the world, and you know seeing all these monuments, and there's like this little story, and this postcard kind of tells you the story of it. So that's kind of a neat little thing that like they really didn't have to do. But everything's very good quality, very easy to read. It's a nice big cards. The cards you're writing on are big, they're not tiny. I just really think this is a fantastic roll and write. Probably one of my favorites that I've come across yet. Um, let's see. There's only 4 pages in the rule book. Super easy to read, super colorful. They do show you examples of how to score it. Um, the length of play is really limited to how long it takes someone to fill in all their squares. So again, a game could be quick depending on your luck of the roll, or it could be a little longer. But I don't think you're going to spend more than 30 minutes in a round. Um, and I really think that's about it. I would just say that it's easy to pick up. The advertised play time on the box is correct. Some of the pros, again, I've talked quite a bit about it, but it's easy for gamers of all types to learn. It's quick to play. The dice allow for different game each time, as I explained earlier. If I had to put a con, it would be maybe the marker should not be as a sharp pointed tip. That's it. Like that's the worst I can do.
Yeah, that
Is it
that
fun?
sharp tip
Yeah,
will probably go away fairly quickly.
probably. Yeah,
And
maybe.
and as the markers dry out. That's
Exactly.
so
But I'm
annoying.
saying
Yeah.
if I have to give it a con, that's the only thing I can come up with.
Yeah. And
So
and it comes
um
with those little teeny tiny little erasers that are like
oh
on top of the marker.
yeah,
Come on. Yeah. Grab a napkin, grab a tissue, just wipe that thing off in one shot.
there you go. There
Yeah.
you go.
Not sit there scrubbing at it all day. Forget that.
So my final thoughts: is it fun? Absolutely, I really enjoyed it. Um, would I recommend it? Absolutely, this should be in every gamer's library, especially if you love roll and writes. And who would like it? Casual gamers or gamers looking for a fun roll and write to start or end a game night. I think again, your seasoned gamers. This will be in my game. I'm taking this tomorrow. We're gonna play it. I've got some really good diehard lifelong gamers that still love games like this too. And is it replayable? Absolutely. The ability to race your boards and the differences with you never know what dice will be in the game and the different types of dice, the variety of numbers. Absolutely, it's replayable. Absolutely, I give this game a 10 myself. If I had to score it on BGG, I gave it a 10 on BGG. But um, Rob, I'm done with that. Any thoughts that you had as well on
No,
this game?
yeah, I really enjoyed this game as well. I have a soft spot for a lot of roll and writes. Some of them I really don't care for. It's few and far in between. Like I really didn't like Bricks, for example. It's like a funky Tetris one. But this one is really nice. I enjoyed it, and this would definitely be one that I may pick up. So if I go back to that store anytime soon and they have it, I'll probably snag myself a copy just because I enjoy it. And yeah, so that's that. So yeah, we're a couple minutes short of 3 hours. Do we tie up another 3 minutes to eclipse it? No, I don't think so. We're close enough.
All righty.
So, all right, so let's take it out here. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you liked hearing about all the games that we played over this past weekend on this Board Game Life Con number one, 2024 edition. Um, and we'll go back to our regularly scheduled programming in 2 weeks. I'm Rob. Thanks for listening, everybody. Catch you all in 2 weeks.
And I will say this won't be the last con. We'll be doing the next one. It'll be this Board Game Live Con 2025, the West. We'll be doing it out
West
here
Campus.
in West Campus, out here in my background.
Yeah.
So in my library. But yep, we will. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you guys at the table.